This.
Okay.
Hey, chat. This.
Okay.
Hey, chat. Chat.
Oh my god, there's so many things that happen when you open this app.
Yeah, it's like a casino.
Ugh,
It's like a casino. All right.
You're streaming. Okay.
I am streaming.
Your
Pull
stream
up.
is not up. Oh,
Pull
there
up.
we go. Now it's up.
Hello. Okay, wait. Now I can mod you. Add moderator. I'm gonna give you.
Well, let me type in chat. There we go.
I'm gonna add you all power.
Whoa, I am all powerful. That's crazy. I am much like.
I have an actual mod now. What was the bird to pterosaur ratio in the Maastrichtian? So that's really difficult to calculate, particularly because we are limited in terms of the amount of biota that we can really understand. I mean, there were generally more pterosaurs than birds, because pterosaurs were more diverse and occupied, as far as we're aware, more niches. But in terms of actual populations, you really can't do that. Just because there are so many biases in the fossil record that could be affecting the fossilization rate. Welcome, I'm not mad, I'm just perturbed. It's going well. Okay, time to do Agnactor and Glacial Agnactor.
Yeah, so what we're doing is we have a big list of all the Monster Hunter monsters. They're all the large Monster Hunter monsters. Oh no, we got small
you got
monsters
small
here too.
monsters
Never
here.
mind.
So I'm going through all the Monster Hunter monsters, and I'm classifying them as either feasible animals or fantasy beasts, and then I'm also just looking at how well the creatures are designed. So I'm looking at the possibility of something like this occurring biologically. I think Glacial Agnactor in particular is at least a little bit more feasible. I mean, there are snow-burrowing animals. What do you think dinosaurs actually sounded like? Probably closer to large birds than the average person expects. Generally, because as far as we're aware, oh, that's really interesting. I'm not mad. I'm just perturbed. Yeah. Wow. And so from what we know, we have very, very limited understanding of what dinosaurs sounded like from the fossil record for obvious reasons, because they have vocal organs that don't necessarily fossil. Hound of Heaven says, do you believe in dragons? I don't think dragon is a useful taxonomic or scientific term. I don't believe that there were flying, fire-breathing monsters that coexisted with humans. What do you think about the Spinosaurus nerf? It's not a nerf, it's a real animal.
I think they made it cooler.
We're approaching a better understanding of the animal. If anything, that's a buff, because we know more about it.
Oh, really cool thing. Speaking of animals having problems, the Skeleton Crew put out a video recently. You might be familiar with them if you're watching this. They're a podcast on YouTube that talks about paleontology, specifically dinosaurs. They put out a video recently on nerve problems in sauropods, and it's really interesting. I highly recommend you go watch it. I am not someone who knows a ton about all the paleontology stuff. I watched it. I found it fascinating. It was a great time.
It's very cool. This person says, I thought birds were more diverse since there were shorebirds and seabirds and birds of prey, etc. There were. It's just that as far as we know, there are not nearly as many species of birds as there were pterosaurs. I mean, you had many, many different groups of pterosaurs. I mean, again, I can't say anything about precise diversity ratios, but pterosaurs are definitely very diverse at the end of the Maastrichtian. I mean, you had loads and loads of pterosaurs in the Tethys, filling niches from diving to filter feeding. Just a really bizarre series of morphologies everywhere. In China, there were Wukongopterids. What is your opinion on Dilophosaurus? I think Dilophosaurus is cool. It comes from the Navajo Nation, which is sick. That's awesome. If there's a way to bring them back, do you think they would rule again, or could we coexist? Depends on how cool humans get about environmental policy, because I guarantee you if dinosaurs did not have some of the harshest federal protections out of any living species, they would be immediately wiped out.
Yeah, that's true.
Atal Ka.
Oh, Atal Ka.
Oh, thank you for the tiny dino. We have accomplished our goal for the live, not 5 minutes in. I got a tiny diny. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, Atal Ka.
Okay, this person says, what do you think about the Loch Ness Monster myth, and is a plesiosaur in the early 1800s possible? No. Loch Ness Monster... The Loch Ness Monster is a depiction as a plesiosaur is broadly informed by it being publicized as a plesiosaur. It was reported as a wide variety of animals for a long time, until eventually that one fake photo was put out. I feel like T-Rexes probably look like massive chickens. Unlikely, because feathers adapted for cooling a large-bodied animal are not similar to the feathers of a chicken, which are designed for warming a small-bodied animal. What do you think about dragons just being dinosaurs that were seen? Humans did not coexist with dinosaurs. So Atal Ka is interesting.
I feel like it's kind of fantastical in the way it uses the, silk it produces.
Yeah. Also, we're saying bad creature design for Monster Hunter purposes. It is pretty fantasy. I don't think an insect...
I don't know. I think Atal Ka is pretty cool.
Atal Ka is really cool. I don't like it. I don't like Atal Ka.
I haven't fought it.
Let's do Tetsukabra. Tetsukabra is... I do not like the way it looks. It's very squarely an animal that could exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there are areas on Earth that are relatively similar to how the Mesozoic was. So, I'd argue that we coexist with the modern crocodile / alligator. I mean, birds, yeah. Crocodiles and alligators aren't dinosaurs. But their birds only fill a small portion of the niche that dinosaurs did during the Mesozoic. If somebody were to take in an abandoned egg of a carnivore, would the carnivore end up eating them? That is very different species to species.
Yeah, how big is it?
I was told rumor has that the Allosaurus could mimic sounds like how parrots do. It's really not something that we can speculate on. There's no backing for or against that. Don't we still have some prehistoric fish? There are some genera of fish that were alive during the Mesozoic that were alive today, but there is no species because of chronospecies. Any art on those porg-looking pterosaurs? I have not done any Neuronathid art that I've put out. I don't think that most dragon myths come from people discovering fossils, particularly because, humans are just naturally creative, and dragons more often resemble living animals than fossil ones. I think Elatrion is the epitome of good creature design, but also a fantasy creature.
That is the most fantasy animal, other than maybe Fatalis.
Yeah. Great drawing. Thank you, Jane Carter. I appreciate it. Almudron. It's very big to be a mammal, but other than its size, I think it's pretty squarely normal.
I haven't.
What is Fran? Fran is an Acrocanthosaurus atokensis from the what's it called? From the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences. Sounds like fun doing the research. It is great and fun. I love it. What species is Fran? Acrocanthosaurus. In theropods, where should the line be drawn of whether herpetologists or ornithologists study them? I say don't draw the line. I think herpetologists and ornithologists can both come at theropods from different angles.
Yeah.
I mean, I very much come at paleontology from an ornithologist angle because that's where my background lies. And I think that's helped me significantly in potentially resolving the taxonomy of some interesting fossil dinosaurs. Are there any dinosaurs that are similar to serpents and have no legs? Nope. Not that we know of. My dad used to watch a pastor who said flying dinosaurs still exist in Africa. He can't be right. Well, he is technically right because the Kori bustard, which is the largest flying bird, does live in Africa. And Kori bustards are dinosaurs, as all birds are. I do like the theory that Protoceratops skulls were the origin of griffin morphology. I think that's reasonable, but it also assumes that a complete Protoceratops skull was found and adequately prepared by people in whenever then. Can you confirm that humans have the power to beat a velociraptor? Maybe some of them. I don't think I could. That's like the size of a coyote. I think the average guy
If you
really...
gave someone a baseball bat, I think they could do it.
Maybe, but I think the average person really overestimates how good they would perform against a coyote. Do you think Megalodon is out there? Absolutely not. Welcome up to the Indo-Man. Are dragons plausible? No. Alright. That's the Indo-Man. What's your question?
So my question is, okay. So how did the whole thing of how did the first person who discovered a dinosaur fossil know it was a dinosaur, not something else?
Okay, so dinosaur is what's called a taxonomic term, and for a long time, the fossils that we now know are dinosaurs weren't called that; they were just called fossils. Right around the 1800s, when taxonomy, which is like the study of living animals, or not living animals, just the study of categorization of animals, um, really was happening, people started classifying not just living animals but also fossils. So, for example, they started, I think it was Elephas americanus for the mammoth, and then there was some stuff putting Megalonyx into its own genus. Point being, they started naming these fossils in convention with living animals, and we have this big pile of dinosaur fossils at this point in England that are not really referred to as dinosaurs. They're just known to be large extinct reptiles. And so Sir Richard Owen, who is looking at all these fossils that have been uncovered, is like, they all have certain things in common. These ones get put in a group, and we're calling them dinosaurs. And the things that make something a dinosaur is that they have a enlarged and asymmetrical fourth trochanter on the femur. They have an acetabulum that is perforated in the hip. It's a bunch of different stuff on the bones. They have what's called a synsacrum above their hip bones, which is where the vertebrae are all fused together. So they have a bunch of different traits that determine whether or not they're a dinosaur. It's all a bunch of very nitty-gritty stuff that indicates that they are related to the original dinosaur. LB says, were T-Rex dragons? Only in the broadest definition of the word. I don't think T-Rex could fly.
I have one more question.
Sure, go ahead.
So, back in the oldest day of paleontology, when people found shark tooths in not watery areas and called them tungstones, how did they find out that they were actually shark tooths?
That was found when someone took an extinct shark tooth. I think it was, I don't know exactly when this was, but it was probably something from Carcharias, which is like a very well-known family of sharks. They took a tungstone and they compared it to a living shark tooth, and they found the only real difference between the morphology was color. Because shark tooths that fall out of the mouth of a shark look exactly like a fossil shark tooth, down to the structure, the amount of bone that comes out underneath the tooth. It's pretty easy to take a look. And in fact, the same thing happened in America when mammoth teeth were discovered. No one knew what they were. They thought they were a weird geological formation. But this one guy, who unfortunately did not have his name ever recorded in history, which sucks. Someone completely took credit for it, but he was like, "That's an elephant tooth. I've seen elephant teeth before. That's an elephant tooth." And that's how we know that mammoths existed. That was like the first thing. It was like, wow, yeah, that really does look like what an elephant tooth looked like. Because this person had seen elephants before, had seen them die, had seen their skulls. Mammoth tooth comes out of the ground. Very easy to see. Wow, that's just an American giant elephant. So it's a lot of what's called comparative anatomy.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
All right, see ya. Okay, Slayer says, what things do you need to study to become a paleontologist? Geology and biology, mostly. What museum do you work at? I'm not going to expose my workplace, but there are a lot of very good museums. I genuinely don't understand dinosaurs' help. Why do they exist? Dinosaurs exist for the reason that, all kinds of animals exist, because life tends to radiate into unexploited niches. Could Parasaur headcrest be used in combat? Highly unlikely. So, in terms of, saying why do dinosaurs exist is kind of like saying why do plants grow on land instead of not just in the water where they originated? It's because the conditions on land were favorable and there was nothing to eat them on land, so they were going to be more successful. And then stuff started arriving onto land. So plants had to radiate in new ways to make themselves more difficult to eat, and so on and so on and so on. Same thing happened with dinosaurs at the end of the Triassic. A bunch of stuff died out, and you had a huge radiation of reptiles. The beginning of the Triassic. You had a huge radiation of reptiles after the synapsids all died out. And, it's just a pattern that we observe. It's called punctuated equilibrium. You get these big spikes of radiation and diversity, and then a bunch of those species that come out die, and the ones that are around continue to radiate. Triceratops is very cool. Why did we think they were lizards in the 1950s to begin with? They were really distinctly recognized as reptilian. I don't think they were ever officially categorized as squamates. They were recognized as being very lizard-like due to primarily their teeth structure, their tooth structure and their limb bone structure. At least as Spinosaurus fact. My cool Spinosaurus fact is that it has these little perforations in its maxilla, premaxilla, and mandible that are thought to be pressure sensory organs like we see in crocodiles. Do you think pagomastax are cute? I think they are cute. Let's do Fulgur anginath. I think
that's a little bit of a fantasy animal.
These are some really good creature designs. I think Fulgur anginath is actually a little bit better, but I think it is also less of a fantasy animal.
Really?
Because fire breathing is a lot less plausible than something creating like bioelectricity. Yeah. I like the name. That's my middle name, actually. You share a middle name with one of the coolest fossil specimens ever. Her name is Fran. She's at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences. Apteros is a real animal.
Apteros and Aptonoth are just animals that existed, basically.
Yeah, Aptonoth is kind of just a very mammalian-looking parasaur. What do you think was the most dangerous dinosaur and the friendliest dinosaurs? I don't know if any of them would be particularly dangerous or friendly. They're all animals. They're kind of just like bison. If you go back in time and save one specimen from the Berlin Museum before the bombing, which one? Don't ask me that. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Is that where the
That's where Carcharodontosaurus and Spinosaurus were held.
Fuck, that's rough.
I'm picking Carcharodontosaurus. In your opinion, what was the scariest dinosaur?
Whichever one is closest to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Megaraptors. They're like the perfect size. Megaraptors or Utah Raptor. They're both like the perfect size to eat a person. To be large enough to very easily kill a person, but small enough to want to do it. Antega is also just a real animal.
Antega is just...
I actually really like the way Antega looks.
Yeah, or Antega.
I'm gonna move these guys here. I think they look a little bit too retro for my taste. I'm gonna move them back that way.
I do like Antega. I think it's good. Popo can also go up in the
we'll get to
same
Popo.
category.
Bonboro is a little bit farther down on feasible animal. I do not like the way Bonboro looks. Particularly because it's depicted as being in like a lava environment. Bonboro, for anyone who doesn't know, we're talking about Monster Hunter monsters right now. If you're into paleontology, you probably know a good chunk about Monster Hunter just because there's a huge overlap there, but there's also there is some cool paleo stuff that came out this week. The first fossil evidence of a Carcharodontosaurus in Australia. Not Carcharodontosaurus, but Carcharodontosaur. What do you say to people / conspiracy theorists who say dinosaurs never existed? A lot of the time, those people have already made up their minds that the world is like aligns with their belief, and they exclusively search for evidence that benefits that. And so there's not a lot that you can do. But for some people who are genuinely curious about it, I think I can have fairly productive conversations with them. Do you think that Utah raptors would be even bigger in the movie since the raptors were big in JW? Utah raptors are huge. They're bigger than the original Jurassic Park raptors by a lot.
Oh, yeah.
The skull of a Utah raptor is about as long as like a 5 foot. If you took a 5 foot tall person, the skull of a Utah raptor, if it bit down on them, the tip of its snout would reach their belly button if it was like biting on their head. Yeah, Bonboro is a little bit too big to be a feasible design for a mammal.
Yeah.
Mammals just are not. How far back did dinosaurs have feathers? The beginning. The common ancestor of dinosaurs and pterosaurs had feathers. Why do you always draw the dinosaurs as red and not a different color?
That's just the ones that they've
That's the ones that I've showed, but there is some paleontological backing for that. In basically every species of dinosaur that we know the color of, they use pheomelanin, and particularly concentrations of pheomelanin that produce bright red as display structures. So, for example, the crests of Anchiornis are red, the stripes of Borealopelta are red, the stripes of Sinosauropteryx are red. So red seemed to be this like universal kind of display color in dinosaurs, which is interesting.
Well, there's also, I mean, the last two pieces that you've had as your art have been like, one of them was during a sunset, and then this is based on a painting.
There's lighting influencing the color. Is the Parasaurolophus the best dinosaur? It's up there. How come paleontologists back then hated the concept of birds coming from dinosaurs? Because a lot of them were incredibly religious. A lot of them were doing it and then did not believe in evolution. Robert Bakker is still very Christian, and he's the guy who proposed that idea, but he's an evolution understander. Who survived in the extinction of the dinosaurs, because we know that chickens' ancestors are dinosaurs. So birds actually evolved in the Jurassic way before the dinosaurs went extinct. Chickens, or chicken-like things, we call them Galloanceroformes, Galloanceres. They're very chicken-like. They're a little bit like halfway between a chicken and a duck, because they gave rise to both chickens and ducks. And some other groups of birds were around already at the end of the Cretaceous, and when the extinction happened, they were just the ones that survived. Dinosaurs are as real as birds. I mean, yes, no matter your worldview, that is a morally consistent opinion.
That is just a factual opinion.
I remember hearing somewhere that the bones to the T-Rex didn't match each other. That's wrong. I don't know where you heard that. But T-Rex is one of the most well-studied dinosaurs. We have 50 so specimens of it, and a lot of them are articulated. Like, they weren't from the same dinosaur. Oh, okay. So there was this... So that's not about the bones. That is about the... T-Rex is not a chimera. It's never been suggested to be a chimera. But there was talk a while ago of splitting all the specimens of Tyrannosaurus rex into 3 different species, because they found 3 different morphologies of bone among T-Rex, but they really weren't that different, and they could have just represented variation within the species. Lost says, I bet you believe in the round earth as well. I certainly do. Do you think Spino walked on all 4s? That's a big theory. No. I think its tail was really rigid, and the counterbalancing effect of the tail probably allowed it to walk bipedally. Read the Bible. I have.
They actually used the word "the" this time.
Read Bible. That's how it's been the last few times. Frostfang Barrios.
Frostfang is so cool, but it is not realistic.
It's not realistic mainly because it shoots frost out of its face. The same thing with regular Barrios.
I would say Barrios is a little bit more realistic because it has less ice on it.
Yeah. Do you think the bird thecodon theory was dumb at the time it was proposed? Yeah. Bro, the Bible talks about dinosaurs in Job. What? No, it doesn't. The most common evidence that I've seen of that is the line, its tail is like a cedar tree, which if you've seen a cedar tree, it is literally just the shape of an elephant's tail. Can I join? Yes, Kanye, you can join. Welcome up, Kanye.
What was that dinosaur you're talking about that shoots frost out of its face?
Okay. No, that's not a dinosaur.
Hunter.
We're talking about Monster Hunter monsters also, as an intermittent.
And I shoot jizz out of my dick.
Okay, buddy. Mods, ban that guy. Okay. This is so fun that I have actual mods now. I'm completely power tripping.
Oh, God.
Do you know about the time it rained for 2 million years? I do know about the Carnian pluvial event. The Carnian pluvial event is pretty awesome. Don't worry, it's fine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Carnian pluvial event is pretty sick. It's an interesting time in paleontology. Great Baggy. Great Baggy is pretty squarely a feasible animal. I don't know how feasible the coloring of blue and orange is. But the interesting thing is that the pronation of the wrists and the flexibility of the tail suggest that it's not quite a dinosaur. Rather, it's like a very derived archosaur. But we do have bipedal archosaurs. Sand Barioth, aside from the wind control,
more realistic.
It's pretty realistic. Yeah. Why can creationists, the ones that do believe in dinosaurs, accept that birds are dinosaurs? That's a really good question. I've had some good discussions about this. Generally, it's just because they don't understand what taxonomy is. The Pervotosaurus is not a real animal. Do you ever try to understand people who don't believe in dinosaurs? They're literally fossils. I do. I've spoken to a lot of them.
They tend to come on this podcast.
They do. They tend to get up here a decent amount. It's wild how crocodiles have been around since dinosaurs. They even look prehistoric. No living species of crocodile has been around since the dinosaurs, but the group, Pseudotsuchia, which includes them, has been around since the Triassic, which is really interesting. This is a podcast. Well, I guess you could say it is.
It's an
audio-based live stream. It's an audio-based live stream, and it gets uploaded to YouTube as a podcast. What do you think is the coolest dinosaur species was? Acrocanthosaurus attokensis. All right, welcome up, Serve.
How's it going?
It's going good. What's your question, sir?
My question is, how often do we find a new dinosaur? Not a new species, but just like how often do we find a dinosaur? Period. Is it like every year, every 10 years?
Shoot, we find new
All the
dinosaurs all the
time.
dang time. There were 52 new species of dinosaurs named just last year.
That's just species. So we're talking like I don't even mean species. I'm just saying like, all right, well, we found another T-Rex last week, that kind of thing, you know?
That's a really good question. I don't even know if you can quantify that.
For like a specific dinosaur?
Well,
No, no, just any like, oh shoot, they found a dinosaur over there again. You know what I mean? Like,
fossils are incredibly common, and a new species being named requires a couple of years of research after the specimen is uncovered. I mean, there are. The thing is, with once you have a fossil site, you can go to that site and work it for decades, just pulling out and describing every single specimen you come out of there. So when you know where the fossils are, you can go there and you can look for fossils, and you can find a new individual every couple hours. If you're at a place like Mother's Day and you're really looking for it, you can find a new individual Diplodocus at Mother's Day every couple minutes. If you're really just looking at the ground, looking for individual bone fragments, that kind of thing, you can find a fossil very easily if you know where to look. But again, it comes down to having an available fossil site where you go to prospect. New fossil sites come about pretty frequently. Usually it's because of construction or some sort of industrial work, or a flood, or rain that like weathers them out of a cliff. But once we know of an area where there is fossiliferous rock, it's a rapid process when it comes to like actually finding a fossil within that rock.
okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
It's kind of like when you find a gold vein underground, you can keep mining it and looking for gold until you've extracted everything that's there. Except I don't think we've extracted all the fossils from any fossil site, really.
So it's not. It has to be encased in a sort of rock or something. It can't be like um. Man, I know I'm dumb right now, but like it's not just a dinosaur died and then it like has to be a special condition to be preserved.
Yeah, so
Correct.
it needs to die in what's called a net depositional environment, which means that there is dirt being laid on top of it right after or soon after it died. So if you were in a sandstorm in a desert, the space between the sand dunes would be a net depositional environment because there would be sand blowing into you and burying you if you laid down there. But if you were on top of the sand dune, that would be what's called a net erosional environment because the sand that you're standing on is getting blown out from under you. So if you're standing on top of a sand dune during a sandstorm, you're not going to get buried and your body's going to rot away. But if you're standing under a sand dune where it's actively burying you, then you might fossilize.
Gotcha. So ocean is out of the question. We don't ever find them in the ocean.
Well, we do actually, because sediment from rivers tends to get emptied into the ocean. So we do actually have a lot of shoreline fossils where the waves bring water in to bury certain specimens. And it's not that digging under the ocean is why we don't find fossils. We find fossils of areas that used to be ocean that were then pushed out. So like in Europe, basically a lot of Europe used to be underwater during the Mesozoic. And you can find a lot of like coastal fossil environments that are now like highland in Europe.
Okay. And I guess one last question. I'm sure there's other people that want to come up. Is birds are technically dinosaurs, right?
They are dinosaurs by every possible metric. We use a series of characters that are present in all the bones of all known dinosaurs to define the group. They have to have a certain number of they have to have a certain series of traits in their anatomy, their skeletal anatomy, and that's what we use to define the term dinosaur. And all living birds have it.
Cool. All right, man. What do you guys think about the new Jurassic Park series?
I'm very excited for it.
I have not actually seen anything about it, really.
I love dinosaurs, and I just like seeing them.
I'm too excited about Monster Hunter for anything else.
Yeah. Okay. I'm also very excited for Monster Hunter. That's a big. I guess it's dinosaur adjacent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day, sir. Thanks so much. That was a great guy. Do you enjoy anthropology as well? Not as much, because people are less cool than dinosaurs. How far do you think we are from discovering all dinosaur fossils? Impossibly far.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll ever happen. I don't think there will ever hit a time when every fossil has been uncovered. What is the theory that ankylosaurs use their tails for competition instead of defense accepted? I imagine it was probably a combination of both. Generally, when you see specialized weapons evolving like that, they are for interspecies competition. Favorite misleading dinosaur name like Saurophaganax the sauropod? Basilosaurus, because it's not a dinosaur at all. It's a whale. Have you ever dug in Yellowcat, Utah? No, I've not. Any other big dinosaurs like T-Rex you think will never be discovered? There's something really large living in a mountain or a rainforest, then I imagine it will go without ever being known. Oh yeah, dinosaurs, name them all. Amargasaurus, Acrocanthosaurus, Albertosaurus, Ajaracan.
I was gonna say Agonactor.
Yeah, I'm thinking I got Monster Hunter on the brain right now. What dinosaurs are you unconvinced of their existence? Dakotaraptor. I mean, I think there was probably a big dromaeosaur from Hell Creek, but it's not Dakotaraptor. Did any non-tyrannosaur Silurisaurians or theropods use their claws and arms for combat or hunting? I think megaraptors are pretty well known to have used their arm for some kind of prey taking. Depends on where you classify megaraptors. Spinosaurs, definitely. What are the chances? Okay, what are the chances we've gotten dinosaur colorings wrong and they're all sort of vibrant colors? Pretty unlikely. We have fossil evidence of dinosaur coloration, and it is, pretty reasonable. They're not super vibrant. We do have some evidence of vibrant coloration, and when it's preserved, it is usually due to structural coloration and feathers. Dodo birds are the fiercest dinosaurs. If you want to believe that, live your truth. I think this one is Barnos. Barnos is feasible outside for having that super acidic spit.
Yeah.
But, even that's not super... Actually, I really don't like the way that Barnos looks, because it looks like an 1800s drawing of a pterodactyl. OMG, hi, Fran. Thank you. What is your favorite dinosaur, Acrocanthosaurus? Particularly Fran. She's my favorite dinosaur. Any fun facts about Parasaurolophus? Yeah, so they use their beaks and teeth in really interesting ways. I had a yawn, sorry. They use their beaks to crop vegetation, and then they use their teeth to grind them, and when they bit down, their teeth would slide over each other naturally as the jaws were pressed against each other, so they didn't have to mechanically chew by moving their jaws side to side. They could just bite down, and the teeth would naturally glide over each other. Did dinosaurs have reptile skin? The scales of dinosaurs were probably closer to the scales on the feet of birds than they were to any other living reptiles. Have you had any Christians come in and say dinosaurs aren't real yet? Lol.
Oh,
yes, so many. What do dinosaurs and identity politics have in common? It's not identity politics. I just think that gay people and trans people and queer people should have human rights. Are T-Rex arms backwards? Absolutely not. We have articulated Tyrannosaur specimens, and we know how the arms looked in life. Are dinosaurs having a feathers actually a survival thing? I've always wondered. Yes, feathers serve a variety of purposes other than flight. Insulation, protection, waterproofing, display, camouflage. Did the Utahraptor have the longest claws in the raptor world? I think in terms of toe claws, I think Utahraptor does have the largest toe claw, yeah. Is this a member-only chat? No, there's just a lot of people right now. If you want your question answered, I suggest that you request to be a guest, and I can talk to you one-on-one. You know what I think when it comes to belief, you should only believe in yourself and you can't trust others. We got to get to where we are by standing on the shoulders of other people.
Yeah, trusting others is definitely an important thing to be able to do. And
Hello?
Hello, Hunter Jacob. Welcome up.
Yeah. What's up?
What's your question?
So, it has been quite a while since I've studied dinosaurs, but I was curious, I saw an article like 2 months ago. They found some stuff about Ankylosaurus, and, it had the big club on its tail. Sorry, my cat's going nuts. They found that the big club on its tail had like some sort of blood vessels in it, but then I couldn't get access to the article. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah.
Because I know for a long time they thought it was just like a mass of bone, and now they're thinking it served another purpose besides just being a weapon.
Do you know when that paper was published, or when you saw it?
I'm serious. I saw a headline, and
Okay.
then it was paywalled.
Um,
But this would have been back in like December.
would have been in December. Okay. Um.
It, like I said, it could just be made up. That's why I wanted to ask you.
Okay. I think what they might be talking about is this Moroccan specimen that has tail osteoderms that have bone histology okay. Bone histology of these osteoderms is reminiscent of the stegosaurian tail spines. Okay.
Oh, so they used it for like collecting heat?
No, not the plates, the spine. So this
Oh,
looks
my bad.
like a transition point between having a either like smooth-tailed or club-tailed animal to a spike-tailed animal like you see in stegosaurs, or something along those lines. I just found the paper. That's the one sentence that I'm pulling away that I see has anything. But there's also this one. This is in November, microstructure and development of the dermal ossicles of Antarctopelta oliveroi. The opposite surface that is convex. The orientation of ossicles could be identified based on the obvious differentiation between opposite surfaces on isolated samples, as mentioned. And what part of the body is this on? Okay. Yeah, so this indicates that the outermost layer of bone, the one that is closest to the skin, is being crossed by blood vessels. And this is talking not about the tail club, but about the actual bones that sat on the skin that are called osteoderms. So they're basically bone with scales growing around them. And so they were not like dead bone material sitting directly on the skin. They were probably covered by living tissue, which is to be expected. That validates what scientific consensus has said about ankylosaur armor for a long time, that it's not bone sitting directly on the surface or bone covered in dead tissue. It is enveloped by skin and living tissue.
Okay, I don't want to take too much of your time. One more question, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So with that, so it's not just dead bone, it's living tissue, but it's still able to be used, or its main purpose still would have been like weapon-like.
Yeah, I think there's a convincing argument to be made from both a weapon of competition between members of the same species and also a defensive weapon against predators from both angles. And I don't think it necessarily has to do either.
Okay.
It's a pretty good defense mechanism to have a weapon like that, and I think it would definitely improve your odds of surviving predator attacks. But in terms of the origin and primary use of it, I don't know. That's still up in the air.
Alrighty. Well, hey, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
Alrighty. Have a nice one.
You too. Your cat sounds very cute.
Oh, thank you.
Bye.
How do I leave?
Like that. Were all Coelurosaurian claws vestigial? No. There's pretty solid evidence that the arm claws of dromaeosaurs were at least partially used in taking prey. Like loads and loads of Maniraptorans had derived hand claws that were really really frequently used in prey capture or some other thing. Like Therizinosaurus is a Maniraptoran, and that animal certainly does not have vestigial prey claws, and that's a Coelurosaur. My favorite dinosaur is Giga, Mapu, Acro, Kark, or Sarah. I feel like you like theropods a lot. Not a bad thing to like. Where would you recommend to get realistic dinosaur toys or figures? Papo has some good ones. Rebor has some good ones. What is it called? Oh my gosh. How long good? How much you know about non-mammalian synapsids? Do you have a favorite one? I like a lot of them. I want to get more into them. The synapsid side of the paleontological tree is not my forte, but hopefully I will know more about them soon because it's something I'm interested in. I do really like Dimetrodon, Inostron Sevia. How loud do you think Parasaurolophus could get, particularly if there's a herd? Incredibly loud, like a bellbird. I don't know if you've ever heard a bellbird. If you've been within 2 miles of a bellbird, I'm sure you've probably heard one. My 3-year-old's favorite dinosaur is Brachiosaurus, but she calls it Broccolisaurus.
That's adorable.
What's your favorite dinosaur? My favorite dinosaur is Fran the Acrocanthosaurus, who's a Acrocanthosaurus specimen who's housed at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences. If your 3-year-old likes Brachiosaurus, you should show her some stuff about Giraffa Titan. That's a really cool animal. It's very closely related. Allosaurus is awesome. Awesome sauce. Speaking of things that are awesome sauce, Varoth. Animal that covers itself in mud. I think it's a little bit more on the fantasy side because it's a giant insectivore.
Yeah, I think with how large the kind of armor on it is, I think that might be a little fantastical. But it using mud as a
cooling mechanism.
Cooling mechanism is definitely a feasible thing.
Dreadnoughtus legit or theoretical? It is legit. I know a bunch of the guys who worked on it. Do you think Megalodon is still alive? No. How common were omnivores in the dino world? I see so much about herbivore carnivore diets. Omnivory is pretty ubiquitous. It's really just a matter of specialty, and there are a lot of very highly specialized animals. Did dinosaurs have feathers? Yep. The common ancestor of dinosaur and pterosaurs had feathers. How do we know the color of dinosaurs? We can look at their fossil feathers and scales under an electron microscope and identify the shape and size of organelles within those cells, which correspond to the production of certain pigments. What do you think about the irritator and with its throat pouch and new jaws? I think that's super cool. I've seen some people reconstructing Spinosaurus with a similar thing, but I don't think there's been a jaw joint found in Spinosaurus. Were Therizinosaurus claws as useless as a spoon with holes? No, because they probably use them to eat. For defense, maybe, but... My favorite prehistoric creature is Aerodactylus. Like the pterosaur named after a Pokemon. That's sick.
Nice.
I think the next big pop culture dinosaur is going to be... That's a good question. Probably Spinosaurus. I mean, Therizinosaurus is pretty mainstream.
Is Spinosaurus not already a pretty mainstream dinosaur?
Do paleontologists wonder about the areas of the Earth that always been ocean? Must be too much. I try not to because then I get sad. But bro, dinosaurs aren't even real? Birds are dinosaurs. Dinosaur refers to an established set of taxonomic criteria that birds fulfill. What are the chances that there is some type of dinosaur that's alive and hasn't been found yet? Non-bird dinosaurs there's almost no chance. Why are pteranodons not dinosaurs? T-Rex did not have wings, and it is not a dragon. If you want to see me go into more detail on that, you can come up and I'll happily explain it to you, or you can look on my page because I've made multiple videos debunking that. Why are pterosaurs not dinosaurs? They're not dinosaurs because they have different hip structure, different leg structure, they have different ankles. They have crurotarsan ankles, not avimetatarsalian ankles, which basically means their feet are... pterosaurs don't have crurotarsan ankles. Or they do have crurotarsan... I'm going to restart. They don't have crurotarsan ankles. They are avimetatarsalians. They do not have a perforate acetabulum like dinosaurs, which means their legs are not as good as supporting their body weight. They have a pteroid bone in their wrist, unlike dinosaurs. And they are very closely related to dinosaurs, but that makes them not dinosaurs. Did Spinosaurus have a sail or a hump? A sail. They made up dinosaurs to hide the fact that oil didn't run out. Oil has not run out. It is a non-renewable resource.
Oil is
not made from dinosaurs. It's made from carboniferous plant material.
Because
that's what Carboniferous means. It means carbon generating, and it refers to the period of time when a lot of the Earth was covered in peat bogs and deposited coal and oil and such everywhere.
The stuff that would have been breaking it down in more modern settings, I believe, just didn't exist yet.
Yeah.
And so they had time to become oil and coal and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was just a series of really unique conditions across the Earth that produced that. Do you have any expertise in prehistoric arthropods like Anomalocaris? I do. I do know a fat chunk about prehistoric arthropods. Not a lot, but it's something that I am actively learning about. How tall would a T-Rex and Velociraptor raptor have been? T-Rex is pretty tall. T-Rex is maybe about... I don't know. I have no spatial information. T-Rex is about twice as tall, maybe 3 times as tall as a person. The knees of... You would stand up and you could look T-Rex in the knee. A Velociraptor is about as big as a coyote. Oil is renewable. The reserves work like aquifers. It's not from carbon broken down. Well, it's not from carbon broken down because the carbon is very clearly still in there. So I don't know what you want to say about that. But the fact of the matter is, no, oil is not a renewable resource that's naturally produced by the Earth. In order for carbon to get into that state, carbon has to go through the carbon cycle, die, and then get extirpated from the carbon cycle and then subjected to heat and pressure to form oil. As someone interested in prehistoric marine life, are there any resources you'd recommend for study? If you're really seriously interested, go check out your local museum. And, if they're running volunteer programs, I'd go into that because you can really get your hands on some cool stuff if they're doing marine research. But in terms of books to read, are you unemployed? No. I'm full-time employed. Well, part-time right now, but
they're also in school, so they don't have.
Yeah, I'm in school. Yeah, I'm in schooling. I am employed. I work at a museum. I'm going to be full-time employed soon-ish when school gets out, and then I'm going to be on a field expedition for most of the summer. How accurate is the visual we have of them now? I think it's getting accurate in very much a logarithmic manner. Is the pterosaur wrist slingshot launch mechanism theory still valid? I think that is scientific consensus, primarily because that lines up with the pterosaur trackways that we have, of pterosaurs using their arms to launch. I don't know what you mean by the pterosaur wrist slingshot launch mechanism. The current consensus on pterosaur launching is that they would push their hands into the ground and like launch themselves off. Why did some turn into fossils and others turn into oil? Or was it not bone set for oil? Oil is not from dinosaurs. Oil is from old plant fossils from the Carboniferous that got landed in peat bogs, and because of the conditions present in the Carboniferous, those plant materials did not break down and were instead pressed into big plant mats like coal and oil. That coal and oil was subjected to heat and pressure. That heat and pressure caused that oil to transform into its modern state. Yes, I did. Yeah, so in terms of literature, I would say Donald Prothero, Bringing Fossils to Life, is a pretty good overview of all paleontology. Michael J. Benton has some good books. Vertebrate Paleontology covers marine ecosystems pretty frequently. Do you think Anomalocaris would be a sequential hermaphrodite like a modern shrimp? No idea. I have no idea about what the phylogenetic bracketing regarding anomalocarid reproduction is. In theory, could dinosaurs fossilized be used for oil? Not really, no. You can't take oil out of fossil bones because they're entirely permineralized. There's no original carbon left. What would dinosaurs taste like? Something between a gamey bird and an alligator is what I would say. It's most likely. I have no idea what this animal is. Oh, that's
what is it?
This is Basarios.
That's Basarios. Yeah. Wait, why are there? Oh, there's 2 Basarios.
There's ruby
right
Basarios.
I don't think Basarios is a very realistic thing.
No, it's covered in rocks. My friend's my favorite dinosaur because she's so darn cool. She has pyrite inclusions in her skeleton, which is awesome. She's one of the most well-researched American theropods. What continents have the most dinosaur fossils today? It's really hard because the amount of fossils in a given country is proportional not only to that country and their natural fossiliferous environment, but also the amount of research that goes into it. The United States has a pretty good fossil record. Canada does as well. China's really up there. China has an absurd quality of fossils as well.
Mongolia's got some like really good spots, right?
Yeah, my favorite period is probably the Triassic or the End Cretaceous or the Permian. I like the Permian too. Basil goose.
Not a very feasible animal, I don't think.
Yeah, well, it's just teetering on the edge here. I think it has some stuff.
Exploding scales.
Yeah, well, so do bombardier beetles, basically.
Okay, fair enough.
Who's really bigger, the Giganotosaurus or the T-Rex? T-Rex is much larger in terms of mass. See, the Basil goose is decidedly a fantasy creature.
Yeah.
Behemoth, I'm not going to rank.
That's, yeah.
Beototus is unreasonable. I think primarily because, like, I don't know.
I feel like it goes maybe on the line.
It goes on the line.
Weird.
I think Beototus is actually a pretty good animal. Turtonator, yeah. I gotta know, is it actually possible that dinosaurs existed? Yes, dinosaurs currently exist. Dinosaur refers to an organism with a series of skeletal traits that are present in modern birds, including, as well as all of the fossil dinosaurs. That doesn't mean all dinosaurs are birds, but it does mean all birds are dinosaurs. So dinosaurs definitely exist. They are currently living. Sorry, all I know about is Pokemon. That's fine.
Well, all I know about is Monster Hunter.
I think pop media, I think pop media has funneled a lot of funding into paleontology, but I also think it's misinformed the public a lot. So it's done both. It's helped and harmed. Blanganga is just an ape.
That is, yeah.
Monkey.
Monkey.
Well, I'm going to take it down a little bit because it has some old world monkey traits, but it also has a super, super long tail, which is a little...
True.
I thought dinosaurs are extinct. Nope. Birds are dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Brachydios. Fantasy beast. Enough said.
Yep.
Who would win in a fight, the Giganotosaurus or the T-Rex? I have no idea. They're extinct animals. I have no idea what their behavior would be like. No idea. Like, in any sort of thing like that. I mean, in like BC texts refer to as Leviathan or dragons. Leviathan is just the Hebrew word for whale, and Bahamut is pretty distinctly an elephant or just some kind of wild beast. Dragons are, I mean, people are creative. They make up fantasy monsters. I'm pretty certain that a lot of the myths created by cultures are not based on anything close to being real. And also dragon is a really broadly applicable term that just means big reptile. It doesn't really have any diagnostic or scientific potency. You say dragons are real, every person is going to consider a different thing to be a dragon. But dinosaur is not a subjective word. Saurophagonex is currently considered a diplodocid, according to the new paper. I do miss dodo birds. I've always wanted to be a paleontologist. What's my favorite dinosaur is the Stegosaurus. What's yours? My favorite dinosaur is Acrocanthosaurus. Stegosaurus is super cool. I worked on a Stegosaurus assemblage in a riverbed from the Morrison Formation a couple of years ago. What is the dinosaur you feel like needs more representation? I wish more people knew about Psittacosaurus. Is there any indication?
Is Psittacosaurus really underrepresented?
Yeah.
I guess I've been in a little bit too much of the
paleontologists talk about Psittacosaurus all the dang time, but it's never been in any sort of movie.
I've been around too many paleontology things.
Yeah, would true penguins be the most recently extinct dinosaur? The most recently extinct dinosaur is probably any one of the birds that have gotten killed off recently. Protoceratops is so cool. Welcome up, Mortal Pizza.
That's a cool name.
People are pretty confident the bones go together in the way they do because of the laws of homology.
Hello?
Hello, Mortal Pizza. What's your question?
So I know some people have told me that chickens are like descendants of T-Rexes. Is that true?
No. So chickens are descendants of avians, more specifically they're Gallo-Enceres. And the ancestors of chickens and T-Rex split off each other in the Jurassic period. So chickens are very much not direct descendants of T-Rex. the things that looked like really early chickens were running around when T-Rex was around, and then the
Uh-huh.
T-Rex died off, and those early chicken/duck ancestors didn't. Post-extinction, they diversified, they ate a lot of seeds and nuts and insects and things like that, and then, boom, now you have a wide variety of birds very similar to what you see today.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so chickens did not evolve directly from T-Rex. They are very closely related. They're both Menoraptoran theropods, or Tyrannoraptoran theropods, but they're not descendants of each other in the same way that sharks are not descendants of stingrays, even though they're closely related.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I was just wondering.
Of course, thank you. Have a great day. Awesome, very cool. Do you think a T-Rex was a solo hunter, or they roamed in small packs, and also were they scavengers? T-Rex definitely wasn't an obligate scavenger. There was fossil evidence showing animals recovering from wounds inflicted by tyrannosaurs. In terms of social behavior, I don't think we really have anything that suggests one way or another. Its closest relatives are known to have been a little bit social, but from T-Rex specifically, not that much. I think Mike is super cool. Do most dinosaurs have feathers? Most probably did, yeah. Hello. Welcome, Biren Fufer.
Hi. I don't know if you've been asked this yet. So would you consider, okay, if a T-Rex and a Triceratops both were in some way fighting each other, or is that even possible? And which one of them would win?
They did coexist. They lived in the exact same ecosystem. And I think it would go both ways in terms of things that could possibly happen. They were co-evolving. We know that T-Rex preyed upon Triceratops, but in the same way that lions often kill giraffes and elephants, elephants and giraffes and a lot of other things that lions eat also kill them, because that's the nature of coevolution and the predator-prey arms race. So in terms of that, I think it would go both ways, and you would probably see wins and losses on both sides. If there were 100, if you went out into the field and you monitored 100 occurrences in T-Rex and Triceratops interacting, they would definitely not go the same direction all those times.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Have a great day. Did you see the mammoth skull found in Iowa? No, I did not. Welcome up, Corrupted Metal. Oh, Corrupted Metal is gone.
Never mind.
Velociraptors were about the size of a turkey or a coyote. How was the fight between the Spinosaur and the T-Rex in Jurassic Park? I mean, I thought it was cool. That's not what either of those animals really look like, though.
All right. How accurate do we think Bullfango and Bulldrome would be?
That's pretty squarely a feasible
That's
animal.
It's just a big mammal.
Yeah.
Big boar. Big wild boar. I think Bullfango is, it's just a big boar.
What's this animal? Do you know what that is? Oh, it's Cetus. Is that it?
Oh, I have no idea.
Is that Laoshan Lung and Ashen Laoshan?
No, that's not. Laoshan
Okay.
Lung. Wait, no, that's not what they
Sorry, my
look like.
question is done. There's no such thing as a dumb question.
Oh, wait, this is that monster from Try, I think.
Yeah. Cetus, yeah.
Yeah, see it is.
Are Mosasaurus dinosaurs? No, they're giant lizards. They're giant aquatic monitor lizards.
Most are so cool.
They're very cool. But they are unfortunately not dinosaurs. Well, not unfortunately. There's loads of cool species of extinct reptiles. This animal is pretty squarely a fantasy beast. It follows crustacean anatomy quite well. But all the big, land-dwelling arthropods are just too big for their britches, because arthropod muscles attach directly to the skeleton.
Oh my god.
And they pull on the exoskeleton as they... What was the purpose of Therizinosaurus having those insane fingers? Therizinosaurus was a browser, a tree browser, so it would be pulling down branches from trees.
Kind of like a giant ground sloth.
This person said, someone deadass tried to convince me the T-Rex was a fish. I have news for you. Everything with a backbone really is a fish. Everything with jaws is a jawed fish. Everything with 4 limbs that walks on land is a tetrapod, which is a kind of lungfish. So, taxonomically speaking, we're all fish. Do you think it would be a good idea if we brought back dinosaurs in the current environment? No. I think it would take a lot of resources to keep them alive. And they wouldn't really benefit the world in a meaningful way. Welcome back. Or not welcome back. Welcome up, Darwin Robo.
What's good? What's good?
What's up? How are you?
All right, real quick. I'm doing wonderful. I just had a question. I run a lot of RPGs, Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, stuff like that. How do you make dinosaurs scary?
How do you make dinosaurs scary? My friend here maybe has a good answer for you because I ran a D&D one
Oh my
shot
God.
with a dinosaur antagonist, and she seemed to enjoy it quite a lot.
Oh, it was really fun. The room with the troodontids.
You thought that was good?
That was great.
Okay.
That was really good.
So I think the way to make any sort of natural animal scary is to have your players fight it on its terms. Think about what environment that animal would like to hunt in, and then put your players in there so that that animal has a natural advantage. For example, I was running troodontids in a dark forest that the players couldn't see out of. And, I kind of had to play with magical... Oh, never mind, that guy left. Well, that guy asked a very good question. But I had the troodontids be in a dark forest that was obscured magically so that even the players with dark vision couldn't see anything. And I had the troodontids kind of dart in and out of combat. They would attack, and then they would run away really rapidly. And I run my D&D without opportunity attacks, so that sort of thing is possible for both enemies and players. But generally, just like a hit and run type of thing. When monsters attack your players, you want to have them be scary by being self-preserving. You don't want them to be recklessly wailing on people.
Yeah, definitely. If the players are in danger and they're in danger in a way that is different and scary, it's going to be scary.
Yeah. What's your opinion on the great Ankylosaurus? It's sick. What do you think Carnotaurus's hands were used for? Probably display. It's consistent with their size and the amount of musculature attached to them. They definitely were not completely vestigial. Could You Survive Prehistoric Times book actually inspired us to do a D&D campaign. That's sick.
That's cool.
Congalala.
Yeah, that's pretty feasible.
It's feasible. Well, it also breathes fire.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
I have
breathes
never
fire.
seen Congalala do that.
When it eats a nitro shroom, it breathes fire.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a chemical reaction with the nitro shroom because those are also used to make exploding barrels.
That's true. But can its body withstand that? It's shooting out a jet of fire from its mouth. Were Spinosaurus more land dinosaurs or more water dinosaurs? They definitely spent a lot of time in the water, but they probably weren't super powerful swimmers. I'm a heron hypothesis proponent. I think, Spinosaurus was a fairly water adjacent animal, but I don't think it was a particularly powerful swimmer that was chasing after fish underwater with a big paddle tail behind it. That paddle tail is, in my opinion, very much consistent with the display structures you find in frilled lizards and basilisk lizards and that sort of thing. What do you think? What percent of overall dinosaurs do you think have been discovered? 10%.
Which dinosaur gives the most nightmare fuel?
Mipe macrothorax. That's a very scary one. I mean, you can estimate that per fossil site, but because we don't know what the entire Earth looked like, we don't know how diverse the ecosystems were, it's very hard to estimate. These guys are going to go right in there. A little bit less realistic because they have those huge claws. Are the Jurassic World movies accurate? Not really, no. What type of ceratopsian would Bastiodon be? That's really interesting. Bastiodon has a really wide lower jaw. Megabastiodon definitely looks a lot more like a traditional ceratopsian. If I had to say here, it would not be a centrosaurian. It would be the other kind. I'm forgetting now. I think it's Centrosauria and Taurosauria. Ceratopsia, and then it's a Chasmosaurian. Yeah, so Bastiodon is Bastylodon. Bastylodon is from Warhammer. Bastiodon is definitely a Chasmosaurian ceratopsian because of those long brow horns and the fairly reduced nasal horn. My watch just went off. It has a fairly square frill with those two horns on the top of it, which is interesting. I think it's probably looking the closest to something like Chasmosaurus russi because they have those that kind of divot in the top, and that could be red as those horns on the sides. a lot of the Triceratopsians had very round frills. Regaliceratops has something similar to what looked like Bastiodon. I don't know. It's a cool animal design. And those corner frill osteoderms are generally not found in Triceratops. So it would be something within the group of Chasmosaurini. Opinions on dinosaurs have lips? Abso-freaking-lutely. Yes. I don't think the asteroid that's coming in currently is posing a threat to the survival of humanity.
Yeah, it's not large enough to pose a serious threat other than to pretty much the people who live in the area around where it would hit, in the chance that it did hit.
Marco Polo described animals in China that were long, lanky, and had short legs and claws. That sounds like a Chinese alligator. Which are, fairly common. At least at that time, they've vastly been reduced in population. Psittacosaurus is my favorite dinosaur.
We found one.
I'm glad it is. Do you have any fun facts about it?
Psittacosaurus is cool.
It is a cool animal and it's contributed a lot to science. My favorite thing about Psittacosaurus is that it has fossilized cloacal tissue, baby. Is dinosaur dragon. Depends on what you mean by dragon. Are dinosaurs big reptiles? Yeah. Psittacosaurus is super cool. It has fossilized cloacal tissue. We know what color it was. We know it potentially engaged in mutualistic paternal or maternal care, where members of a large group would look after unrelated members of the larger groups, like children, which is super cool. Saw a video that says T-Rex had small arms because of wings. Thoughts completely incorrect. T-Rex arms did not support wings. We don't have any evidence of wing-like structures being supported in T-Rex. It doesn't have a sternal keel. It doesn't have quill knobs on the wings where feathers, or quill knobs on the arms where wings would be, where feathers would attach. There's really, really no evidence pointing towards. There's actually a lot of evidence pointing against that. Dalmadur and Shah Dalmadur are both squarely fantasy animals because of how big they are. Do you love Trey the Explainer? I do. I think he's homina.
With the asteroid killing the dinosaurs thing, the aftermath of the asteroid impact killed off a lot of the dinosaurs that were around.
Yeah.
It wasn't that they were already dead when the asteroid showed up.
Yeah.
It was the likely a really, really cold period where a lot of the stuff just couldn't survive because it couldn't find enough food.
Yeah.
And the dinosaurs that survived, being the avians, just had adaptations that better suited them to that kind of conditions.
Yeah, they were predisposed for low food density environments because they could already travel long distance in search of things that were not decaying. Are chickens really dinosaurs? Yes. What do you think about shrink wrapping? Like, how do we know dinosaurs look like that? Well, we have a much better knowledge now of osteological correlates, which are traits on the bone that indicate soft tissue traits. So, for example, a very simple example of this would be, the holes in the front of a human skull we know are eye sockets, because in living animals, we know that their eyes are supported in those specific holes surrounded by those specific bones. And by doing that sort of trend analysis, we can figure out where muscles attach, where keratin was deposited on the bones, that sort of thing. Was there volcanic activity going on? Something about the Deccan traps? That's up in the air. It's debated to and fro. Yeah, the Deccan traps are kind of thought to have had less of an impact than has been previously described on the end Cretaceous extinction. Did Microraptor fly or just glide? I think it's pretty well considered to be a glider, but I'm not sure. In terms of size, Diablos actually has a pretty good chance of getting them big, primarily because it's an herbivore.
True, yeah.
I don't like the way that Diablos looks that much.
I think Black Diablos looks better than regular
I think
Diablos.
It looks worse because it has no color variation.
Yeah. I think part of the thing with Black Diablos is because it's like they're not always that color. They're only that sometimes.
That's true. I do like how, I'm going to bump Black Diablos up because I do like how they have a matriarchal breeding arrangement. I think that's cool and interesting. Is this Dire Moralis?
Let's see. Someone was asking if you knew about Path of Titans or The Isle and how accurate they are.
I love The Isle, and I like Path of Titans. They're kind of mixed bags in terms of their accuracy. Path of Titans is across the board a lot better than The Isle in terms of its design accuracy, but they also kind of... The one thing I don't like about Path of Titans is that a lot of their playable classes are based on very obscure dinosaur taxa that are also very fragmentary. So like Pycnonemosaurus is wildly speculated on in terms of how it actually looked because there's just not that much fossil material from it. What dinosaur do you have the most accurate skin fossil of? Probably Borealopelta. That's the only one with 3-dimensional skin fossils.
Oh, yeah. Or is Borealopelta the one we have, like, one of the mummies of?
It's a mummified ankylosaur.
Yeah.
Do you ever play Saurian? I did a little bit. I play the Isle a lot. The Isle is a very mixed bag in terms of accuracy.
Someone asking about Parasaurolophus facts.
Parasaurolophus is cool. Cool fact about Parasaurolophus is that it was a hadrosaur and had a kind of interweaving set of tendons in its tail that were comprised a lot of them are comprised of bone, and so it kind of locked the tail together and prevented it from shifting around as the animal moved. So it was like a 2x4. My fact about Ankylosaurus is that the back half of Ankylosaurus's tail was also locked up, very similar to Parasaurolophus. And when it swung, it wasn't like a whip with a ball on the end. It was much more like a stiff-handled club.
And it's pronounced Diplodocus.
Diplodocus? You can say that.
What?
You could say it's pronounced Diplodocus. You could also say Diplodocus.
Diplodocus? Yeah.
Yeah, that's how some people
say it. I pronounce
it.
it Diplodocus.
Diplodocus is how I say it. Why do young children have such a fascination with dinosaurs?
Because they're cool.
A fascination with dinosaurs is baked into every living thing, and it gets beaten out of you as you age. If you refuse to let that passion die, it will carry you through your entire life. I don't like Duramboros. It's going squarely
I'm not
here.
super familiar with Duramboros.
I do play Primal Carnage Extinction. It's awesome.
I love Primal Carnage Extinction.
That's great.
It's so much fun.
I mean, Fatalis is kind of...
Fatalis is just a dragon.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I would put it up there with Elatrion for... In the context of Monster Hunter, I think it's really, really good.
I think I'm going to sort them that way. Have White Fatalis be farther down
Yeah.
there. Favorite prehistoric reptile? Probably still Acrocanthosaurus. Non-dinosaur reptile is going to be Tylosaurus proroger. Gajau, that is just a fish.
That is, yeah, big fish.
Why they let Brachiosauruses die in Jurassic World twice? I don't know. There's some real herbivore haters. It upsets me deeply that hadrosaurs are always depicted as carnivore fodder. It is a slight against all that is good that they are that way. I think Gammoth is super cool. It's a little bit out of the size range for what you would consider a mammoth to be able to reach because mammals just can't get that big. I think Gastrodon is pretty all right. Were Troodons smarter than Velociraptor? We don't know anything about what Troodon looked like. We know that its close relatives are fairly intelligent. Potentially more intelligent than raptors. I know it had a larger brain than Velociraptor, at least like some of its relatives did. The issue is that Troodon is a fossil specimen based only on teeth, and that's why it's considered a nomen dubium. The group Troodon, which means wounding tooth, describes a specific tooth morphology that is pretty similar across the entire group. So if you find just teeth, you can know that it's a Troodont, but you can't really diagnose which Troodont it is, which is why Troodon is kind of a useless taxon. And that's why it's not really considered to be a real animal. What do you think dinosaurs mated with other dinosaur species? There is the possibility of dinosaurs doing something like bull elephants and must. I mean, that's reasonable speculation. How do they identify the avian fossils? Separating the avian from the non-avian fossils. You look at if there's a pygostyle, if they have... these are all like terms that refer to specific morphologies. A pygostyle is a few series of caudal vertebrae after the hips. You look for the angle of the the pubis of the pelvis. You look for the pubic angle is going to be much farther back. You look at the hollowness of the bones. Avians tend to have much more hollow bones than non-related dinosaurs. You look for a rhamphotheca or some trait indicating a rhamphotheca in the skull bones. Stuff like that. You look for the fusion of the third and second digit of the wings. I definitely think dinosaurs groomed or preened each other. That's very, very valid speculation. The most recently discovered dinosaur. Shoot,
Here, let
I
me
think,
check the Tumblr account I follow.
I think it would be because this was posted yesterday. Was the Australian Carcharodontosaur?
That's probably it.
It wasn't named. It was just placed. It's Carcharodontosauria indeterminate, but it is from Australia.
Let's see the new dinosaurs Tumblr account. Oh no, the last thing this had was
it the Mexican ankylosaur?
Last thing they had on here was from it's a shiny.
It's
in the. Oh god.
I have a Discord bot that sends me new papers.
Oh, that's cool.
It's not mine. It's on the PaleoStream Discord. Where is it? But as far as I'm aware, it is the Australian Carcharodontosaurs that came out as a result of this sort of broad analysis of fossil material from Australia. Oh my god, where are you? Where in the heck is the PaleoStream Discord server? I actually cannot find this. Oh my gosh, there it is.
How do we know dinosaurs weren't dragons? Dragon is not really like
not a taxonomic term. It refers to nothing specific that we can use to describe an animal. Like if that would be like if I made up a name for a brown mammal and I was like, how can we tell that mammoths were not brown mammals? Maybe they are. That's a very broadly defined term. Is it based on the hex code of the fur? And dragon is even more subjective than that.
Yeah.
It refers to basically nothing other than being big and scary. Yeah. No, I think all I can see is the new Australian ankylosaur. Or not ankylosaur. I think there was an ankylosaur found, but you think dinosaurs made it for life? Definitely depends on the species. I've never seen Arcane, Gradual Davy Jones. Favorite hadrosaur? Tethys hadros. What's your favorite dinosaur? Acrocanthosaurus.
Favorite therapist.
What's your favorite therapist? My favorite therapist is my therapist. Theropod. My favorite theropod is Acrocanthosaurus. Would it be interesting to see dinosaurs which aren't rendered shrink wrapped?
There's some great art of
There's a lot of art of that. Basically all tomorrow's art, or all yesterday's art that comes out is done with a conscious decision to reconstruct flesh and muscle in mind if it's done by actual paleoartists. Did birds evolve tree down or ground up? Ground up. The ground up hypothesis is very well supported, particularly because of the Evo-Devo angle and looking at wing-assisted incline running. Hello, it says paleoartist, but I wasn't sure if you meant paleontologist and it was just a typo. It does not mean paleontologist. I'm not a paleontologist. I'm just a researcher. A paleoartist is someone who draws or paints or reconstructs dinosaurs with the aim of, capturing prehistoric life. I'm not a paleontologist. I just study dinosaurs. I work in a museum. I do all that stuff, but I'm not at the level of paleontologist. I don't have a degree yet. I'm aiming for one, but and my knowledge of this is probably more than the average person's, I would hope, but I'm not a full-fledged paleontologist. Is it true that dinosaurs had feathers? Yes, a lot of them did. There's not a new theory of T-Rex having wings. There was a hypothesis proposed by a guy on TikTok who did not understand the basic principles of homology and misinterpreted T-Rex's arms as potentially being wings. There's no evidence of T-Rex having wings, even like an ostrich.
That's why so many people are asking about it.
Yes, it has no sternal keel. All of T-Rex's bones and bone structures are accounted for. There's no transitional or Midpoint fossil, we have a very clear image of Tyrannosaur evolutionary history. Are all clades, not sure if that's the right word, named after genuses? No, not all clades are named after genera. The existence of a theropod implies the existence of a hieropod.
Oh my god.
That's really good.
That is really good.
That's
I like
really
that
funny.
a lot.
What's your favorite dinosaur to draw in general? My favorite dinosaur is Acrocanthosaurus. My favorite dinosaur to draw is Acrocanthosaurus. What is French? He's an Acrocanthosaurus. Could you talk about Argentinosaurus? Argentinosaurus is super cool. When it was first found, its legs were thought to be petrified tree trunks, but they weren't. They were femurs. Argentinosaurus is really amazing. It's a titanosaurian sauropod from South America. It coexisted with a lot of really, really huge predators, and potentially the reason that it got so big and also its predators got so big is as a predator avoidance strategy. If you get really big really fast, not much can eat you. Dinosaurs are chunkier than the average person thinks. In terms of, there's not really a continuing push for chunkiness in paleontology, because basically all paleo art you see associated with like papers and research publications reflects the known chunkiness of dinosaurs. Can we get some Eutyrannus facts? Eutyrannus is one of the best animals to understand not ontologically, ontogenetically, which is referring to the growth and development of the animal, because Eutyrannus died with a younger sibling or friend or something. So we have absolute knowledge that because the two Eutyrannus specimens we have were subjected to the same forces and the same events after fossilization, we can really clearly point towards ontogenetic changes in Eutyrannus. For example, we know that the feet of baby Eutyrannus were much larger in proportion to the rest of the body than other tyrannosaurs. What does that mean? I don't know. Besides that, baby Eutyrannus probably looked like that one bird from the meme where it's like a jacana chick, and it has a huge foot out, and the caption just says "damn." That's probably what baby Eutyrannus looked like. How accurate is Ark on a realism scale? 1 out of 10. There is maybe one accurate dinosaur design in Ark, and I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Cool obscure dinosaurs: Geeky, or Olorotitan, Latenovenatrix, Achilobator, Bahatosaurus, Meraxes gigas for all my big theropod fans, Tethys hadros. There's a lot of them. No, Ark is really not. Yeah. What's your favorite dinosaur fact? My favorite dinosaur fact is that we know what color some of them were. I don't think Therizinosaurus would be able to fight back against a Tyrannosaurid with its claws, but it did coexist with Tarbosaurus. And I imagine that Therizinosaurus would have some way of dealing with a predator that large. Why did dinosaurs dominate during the 2 million years of rain? Dinosaurs did not dominate during the 2 million years of rain because the Carnian pluvial age... Wait, was it the Carnian... When was the Carnian pluvial age? Is that during the Triassic or the Permian? No, never mind. Yes, it was. I thought the Carnian was in the Permian, which it's not. I was thinking of the Capitanian or the Changxinganian. No. So, in terms of the Carnian pluvial event, it's possible that is just preservation bias, because a rain-heavy environment would cause the shifting of a lot of sediment. So you would just find more dinosaur fossils from the Carnian because it's more favorable for dinosaur fossil formation. So that doesn't really tell us a lot about the actual ecology. I like Path of Titans. Are Sarcos real? Sarcosuchus is real. How do we know what color some of them are? Scanning electron microscope of fossilized feathers and skin, because the cells that produce certain pigments have different shaped organelles in those cells that produce those pigments. And so one shape corresponds with a reddish-brown pigment, and one shape corresponds with a jet-black pigment. That is pheomelanin and eumelanin, respectively. And pheomelanin and eumelanin are found in different quantities and different arrangements for basically every different color. Charlie Boo says, I'm so close, keep talking. Almost there. What did you say? No are crocodilians? Are alligators, yes, yeah. Sarcosuchus is not, though. Dinosaurs did definitely have feathers. It is already proven because we've found fossils with both osteological correlates with feathers and actual fossilized full feathers. Also, the only living dinosaurs today have feathers. We know that the earliest dinosaurs probably also had feathers because pterosaurs had feathers, and pterosaurs and dinosaurs are very closely related, which means that their most recent common ancestor probably also had feathers. And if dinosaurs evolved from a group of animals that had feathers, it's very likely that the earliest dinosaurs did have feathers. How tall could raptors be? Utah raptors are really, really big. You could probably look a Utah raptor in the chest. It is a big animal. Utah raptors are giant, and is the largest dromaeosaur. Do you think Nanotyrannus was valid? I'm not speaking on Nanotyrannus at this time. I'm holding my tongue because I know that there's research that's coming out, and I will pass judgment on whether or not that research is good after I've read the paper, which is not out yet. Great Gyros is
Gyros and Great Gyros, I think, are pretty.
I mean, we basically have squamates that big.
Yeah,
and
that's a regular Gyros that you just put up there, but
I do not give a hoot.
Down here somewhere.
Yeah, okay. We basically have squamates that big, and mobbing prey is very well observed in squamates. That's a known behavior, and it lives in such a nutrient-dense environment that I doubt it would have any issue growing as big as it does. It would be like if you raised Komodo dragons in a house made of food.
Yeah.
How realistic is Megalodon, and is it related to any known dinosaurs? Megalodon is not a dinosaur, it's a shark. Dinosaurs are reptiles within the order Dinosauria. Megalodon is pretty cool. The Megalodon in the Meg is a little bit too great white sharky. Yeah, all birds are living dinosaurs.
Someone was asking about mosasaur facts.
Mosasaurs are super cool. We have a lot of Tylosaurus fossils with injuries from other mosasaurs that bit them on the top of the skull. So we know that Tylosaurs were engaging in a lot of interspecific competition. Was there evolutionary benefits to having tiny arms in the T-Rex, or was it a random trait? There are evolutionary benefits to not having things be bigger than you need them to be, so yes. That's why humans don't have tails. Because, we aren't using them for climbing, so it makes sense that apes have reduced tails. Goebel's pretty...
Big fish thing.
Yeah, it has a lot going on.
Yeah.
Gogmazios.
Gogmazios is definitely a fantasy creature.
Yeah, do they have feathers? A lot of them did. The Fran art looks great. Thank you, CJ. Did they have fur? Nope. Feathers? Yes. Mosasaurus, Bible confirmed, testify. Mosasaurus is named after the Meuse River in Maastricht, Denmark. Were there water dinosaurs? Not outside of penguins that we know of. I mean, there are dinosaurs that maybe entered the water, but the only fully aquatic reptiles from the Mesozoic were not dinosaurs. Who would win in a fight, Spinosaurus or Giganotosaurus? Probably Giganotosaurus. What does Spinosaurus actually look like? Spinosaurus is a complicated question. A lot of the issue with what Spinosaurus looks like is its proportions, because it's assembled from multiple specimens that are of different ages, and we don't know if we're scaling them correctly because a lot of those specimens are fragmentary. So we have a lot of parts from Spinosaurus's body. We don't know how big its legs are in proportion to its body, really. There's conflicting theories on its lifestyle. It's really up in the air right now.
Yeah, Spinosaurus is kind of... I would say if there's a drama going on in the dinosaur paleontology community, I think that's it.
Denmark confirmed. Yeah, Maastricht, Denmark is what the Maastrichtian period is named after.
I thought someone was asking if Denmark was real.
I mean, Denmark is real. What dinosaur age would you want to visit if you could choose one? The Albian period of the Cretaceous, 113 million years ago, when Acrocanthosaurus atokensis occupied Arkansas. Which dinosaur would be the most generous lover? I have no idea, dog.
Probably one of the ones with demonstrated nesting behaviors.
I thought that said Lurdosaurus being anti-Semitic for a second. I think semi-aquatic. Oh, okay. So Lurdosaurus in particular is very interesting. I think semi-aquatic behavior and like intermittent aquatic activity is very reasonable speculation for a lot of dinosaurs.
Yeah, I mean, moose dive.
Yeah.
So like,
and so
stuff like that is absolutely feasible.
I'm not saying that dinosaurs could not enter the water. I'm saying across the board they were not the best swimmers, but yeah, I definitely think something like Lurdosaurus could swim and enter the water. When will you guys find out what they sounded like? We're working on it. The Panachosaurus voice box is still being researched. That paper will come out in a few years.
That's being researched?
Yeah,
that's cool.
There is a fossilized larynx that includes soft tissue from Panachosaurus.
That's so cool. Very excited about that.
Are there any fossils that haven't been pulverized near the Chicxulub crater? The closest fossil site that we have to the actual extinction event is the Tanis site in North Dakota. Any thoughts on Diego having scary monsters as his stand? I love scary monsters. I think it's super cool. I think that Utah Raptor is a little outdated, but that's probably only because that part was written some time ago. That's not really what Utah Raptor has ever looked like, but I'll excuse it because JoJo's is cool. Gormagala gets a point off of good creature design because it's really edgy, but I do think it is squarely a fantasy beast.
Shigaru Magala should go a little higher than it then.
No, Shigaru Magala is edgier.
Really?
I think Chaotic Gore is the most edgy.
Oh, Chaotic Gore is absolutely the most
edgy. Most dinosaurs had feathers. Prove me wrong. I will not, because that's what phylogenetic bracketing states. What is a realistic explanation for the D-Rex in the new Jurassic World movie? There is none. It's a fantasy creature. It's fine. I don't give a hoot. It's a sci-fi movie. Most accurate Utah Raptor design you've seen. That had, like, the Utah Raptor that has appeared in anything, probably the one from Jurassic World Evolution 2. It looks really good.
Nice.
What is the most common dinosaur? I think the most abundant dinosaur species that we have is probably one of the Morrison sauropods.
Really? Not Psittacosaurus?
Most specimens for a single dinosaur. Well, Psittacosaurus is split into like 4 species.
Oh, okay.
Let's do dinosaur specimens with nicknames. Ava. Oh, cute. Ashley. Bertha. Big Sam. Boswell. Bruce. Cybele. Frederick. Oh, okay. It's the Ghost Ranch Coelophysis because there's 1,000 Coelophysis there.
Oh, right.
Did they really have feathers, or is that a thing we thought 5 years ago? Feathers on dinosaurs is scientific consensus. Basically, every group of dinosaurs have feathers, in some capacity. Welcome up, Colton Presley. Colton Presley. Hello, Colton Presley. What's your question?
Okay, so I have a question. If velociraptors were the size of like a coyote, like I was in here earlier and I heard you say that like velociraptors were like the size of like a coyote.
Yeah.
If they were like the size of a coyote, then how big would a compy be?
Compsognathus is about the size as it was in the movie. I think it's a little bit smaller. But they're pretty much about that size.
The reason velociraptors are so large in the Jurassic Park movies is because they originally modeled the velociraptors off of Deinonychus.
Yeah, but Deinonychus is now no longer considered to be a species of velociraptor. It's considered to be its own animal, which is why, if you did that movie today, they would be being chased by Deinonychus and not Velociraptor if you chose to have the same design.
Oh. So, well then if they were the size of coyotes, couldn't we technically like tame them and make them pets if they were that small?
I mean, pretty much every animal you can make trust you with enough willpower, I think.
And food.
Yeah. I mean, people tame dinosaurs that are in the size range of Velociraptor around today. People have pet turkeys and pet hawks and pet eagles.
People have, like, I don't know, pet is the right word, but like people work with ostriches and those are fairly large. So
yeah. I definitely think that, you could probably raise a Velociraptor and have it associate you positively enough for it to, not want to eat you. Which, I mean, in the first place, because it's so small, it's more like not run away from you.
But would they share the same factors as a coyote? Like they'd be like scared of us, or would they have still like the exact same aggression as a Velociraptor in Jurassic World would have?
I think they would definitely be quite skittish because of how small they are.
Oh, okay. Well, those are all the questions I had. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, of course. Have a great day.
Have a nice
See
day.
ya.
You too. See ya.
Colton Presley, baby. Acrocanthosaurus versus Beckel Spinax and why? Acrocanthosaurus is way cooler because its name doesn't sound weird. Its name is not Beckel Spinax. I think it's called Altispinax now. Beckel Spinax, I think it was actually synonymized into Acrocanthosaurus. No, it wasn't. It was pulled out of it. It was originally associated with Acrocanthosaurus, and then it was removed. Yeah, it is. It is really crazy how there's proof of these things years later. Is Plesiosaurus a dinosaur? No. It's maybe a testudine. I know it's some kind of archelosaur, I believe. The full name of the T-Rex, Tyrannosaurus rex, is the binomial name. Rex is the species name. Tyrannosaurus is the genus name. Did Utahraptors live in packs or were they solitary? Utahraptors are actually one of the only dromaeosaurs that we have actual evidence of family-style living in. The Utahraptor block has many, many individuals of different ages in it. Did dinosaurs have feathers? A lot of them did, yeah. What is your favorite era to study? Well, right now I'm working on post-End Cretaceous evolution of ducks and their relatives. So like ducks, screamers, magpie geese, that sort of thing. And that's been really fun. But I'm very excited because soonish I'm going to be working on a project in the Cenozoic, specifically the Pleistocene. So that's going to be really cool. That's definitely an era that I don't have any real experience in. I've never done Pleistocene digs. I've never written a paper about the Pleistocene. I've never done anything like that. So it's going to be a fun pivot, and I'm going to learn a lot of new stuff. I'm currently out studying lions in Africa. Were there any cool dinosaurs found in South Africa? Absolutely. Lasutosaurus. I know there's a lot of aquatic biota there. Lasutosaurus is probably the most famous South African dinosaur that I can think of. What's better, Allosaurus, Utahraptor, or Compsognathus? I think Allosaurus is really cool. Utahraptor is awesome, though. I think all the dinosaurs are really cool. I don't know if I could even hope to rank them against each other.
Well, there are some you could probably rank.
Okay, Psittacosaurus, and then everything else is above it.
Yeah. Unless you're ranking them at best at dying in ponds.
Yeah.
I don't think Duratodus is very feasible to
I think it really is. Really? What do you mean? Lungfish cover themselves in mud all the time.
Yeah, I'm thinking more about the leg structure. That's kind of my issue with that and Cephadrome and not Plesiosaur.
I think Duratodus is the most feasible out of all of these guys. I do think it is the worst design. It is just a fish. I know dinosaurs have feathers, but why do all accurate representations of dinosaurs not have them? Because the feather structures are not ubiquitous across the groups. You don't see pennaceous feathers outside of like Maniraptorans. And so most feathers in dinosaurs are what you would call monofilamentary feathers that would be sparsely patterned across the body, not that thick, fluffy hair or those big like plumate feathers. Hey, I'm studying paleontology. Awesome, Kay. There's got to be more of us out there.
Oh yeah, there was someone asking, someone who was saying that their friend wanted to get into paleontology and asking about good ways to do that.
If you want to get into paleontology as a career, definitely volunteer at your local museum. If you're in college, talk to a professor that is either paleontology adjacent or may have had some experience in the field and ask them advice for like local opportunities. Museums are definitely the way to do it. What do dinos have to do with LGBTQ, bro? Because I care about queer people, and queer people often get excluded from a lot of discussions on the internet, and they get bashed a lot, and it sucks. It's not a pleasant experience for any of us. And so I want to have a place that is definitively and obviously safe for queer people to hang out and talk about stuff that they're interested in, as well as others. Can a Spinosaurus overpower a T-Rex? I mean, depends on the individual Spinosaurus and T-Rex that you're picking, but across the board, maybe unlikely. When was Antarctica not frozen? Were there dinosaurs? We do actually have some dinosaurs that were living in the Antarctic area. Muttaburrasaurus, Austroraptor, I believe. Not Austroraptor, Australovenator. Muttaburrasaurus, not a dinosaur, but Aeromongosaurus, Phoodolonchosaurus. A lot of Australian stuff.
Oh, that's a really good question about the stones.
Do dinosaurs eat stones like birds? Abso-freaking-lutely. We have loads and loads of dinosaur gastroliths. We know that at least some of them definitely took in gastroliths for various reasons. What's the biggest prehistoric misconception that annoys you? The idea that dinosaur feathers is still like a hotly debated topic on whether or not they're around.
We have fossils.
Yeah, there are
with feathers.
literal fossils that include
We
feathers.
have. I didn't know about this until recently. There is a preserved dinosaur tail in amber that has feathers on it.
Yeah, it's like unambiguously feathers. You can look at it. It's not even like, oh, those could be scratches on the rock. Why are pterosaurs not considered dinosaurs? They have different hip structures and different wrist structures that separate them from the rest of the, like the rest of the avimetatarsalians. What is the most terrifying dinosaur that's been discovered so far? Mipe macrothorax, probably. I don't think anything about the Antarctica theories. You'll have to be more specific. I read Stegosaurus could flare its throat like a bearded dragon. Is that true? Probably not, actually. This is really interesting because Stegosaurus had a plate of bony armor underneath its throat. That's never depicted in Stegosaurus paleoart, which sucks because it's so cool. But Stegosaurus has this huge plate of bony armor, so I doubt it would have been very good at expanding or inflating its throat up like that because it has that device there.
Someone asking about books to read on paleontology.
There are definitely gay dinosaurs. Read Michael J. Benton's stuff. It's pretty good. Bringing Fossils to Life by Donald R. Prothero is good as well. All Yesterdays is awesome as well. How do you become a paleo artist? I started drawing dinosaurs, and then I familiarized myself with literature regarding dinosaurs as, part of my general process in getting into paleontology. And then that made me a lot better drawing them because I could understand what these papers were talking about regarding their anatomy. How many dinosaurs have feathers? A lot of them. I say it's safest to assume that every dinosaur without integumentary data has some kind of feathering unless all the other members of its group are known to not have feathering. Khezu is a fantasy beast.
Khezu is definitely a fantasy beast.
Can you please make a dinosaur noise? Fine. We're going to do some kind of early Triassic, like sauropodomorph. Perhaps like a Plateosaurus or something, something along those lines. Oh, that's my foot. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, there we go. So that's my speculative dinosaur noise. All Tomorrows looks peak. It does. All Yesterdays is also peak. They're both really good. It was not a Triceratops, MLE's potato. It was the mounted Tyrannosaurus Rex at the California Academy of Sciences in San Francisco that convinced me. Chickens are not descendants of velociraptors. They are really closely related, though. They're both Maniraptorans. But chickens and, avians split off from the Maniraptorans in like the Jurassic, and velociraptors didn't show up until the Cretaceous. Dinosaurs are not just reptiles that live in the Mesozoic era. There are a specific group of reptiles that started in the Mesozoic era. There are still dinosaurs around today. How do scientists know how they sounded back then? We don't. Most of our knowledge on dinosaur noise is based on phylogenetic bracketing and the very few fossils we have of dinosaur vocal organs. So it's still very speculative. Yeah, the mounted Tyrannosaurus. It's if you go to the California Academy of Sciences, I don't know if it's still there, but when I went there was just a Tyrannosaurus sitting in front of the lobby. Were mutations like albinism common then? We don't have any actual fossils of dinosaurs that we know of with pigmentary mutations. It could be that one of them does, because for all the dinosaurs that we know the colors of, we only have one member of their species that is preserved with feathers intact, except for Eutyrannus. I don't know if we have enough data to determine the colors of Eutyrannus. Did crocodiles attack dinosaurs? Almost definitely in some capacity. Are you into the Ice Age era at all? I'm trying to get into it. I'm going to be doing a dig in Ice Age rock in the summer, so that's exciting.
Kieran is, yeah, definitely. I would put it more in fantasy creature.
Okay.
Especially with the lightning.
Yeah. Kuluyaku.
Kuluyaku is pretty feasible.
Yeah. Are there any examples of a dinosaur species needing enrichment? I mean, every animal needs enrichment. They're going to play together. Dinosaurs did do kind of bird-like dance routines. We have footprints of theropod dinosaurs carving out display arenas in the ground and stepping around in them. Do you know if Microraptor was capable of powered flight? I'm getting conflict answers 24/7. That's because it's still kind of debated. As far as I'm aware, Microraptor did not have a sternal keel, but then again, neither did Archaeopteryx. It probably was capable of flapping, and it had those big pennaceous feathers on its wings, so it definitely wasn't a bad glider, but that's still very hotly debated. Is it true dinosaurs had feathers? A heck of a lot of them, yeah. Chickens are dinosaurs. Have we been eating dinosaur meat? Yes. What's the point of little T-Rex arms? The point is not really that they got big or that they got little. It's that there was no reason for them to really be huge. Bringing Fossils to Life by Donald R. Prothero and All Yesterdays by C.M. Kozeman. Did dinosaurs have iridophores like chameleons? Not that we know of. We haven't found any dinosaur fossils that would suggest color-changing scales. How big is the feet of a T-Rex? Really big. About, like, if you stick your hands out as far as you can in front of you, depends on how big you are, but I would say from a little bit below your shoulder all the way down to your wrist is about how long a T-Rex's middle toe is. What's your thoughts on Troodon from the JP novel? I think it's cool. I mean, Troodon's not a valid species, but don't let me stop you from writing it into your stuff. Kulf Taroth is that's pretty
fantastical.
Yeah. Kushala Daura, fantasy beast.
Definitely a fantasy beast.
Rusted Kushala Daura.
Also
Slightly more realistic
beast.
because it doesn't have to solve the issue of having rusty scales.
True.
What are your thoughts on Godzilla? Godzilla's sick. Godzilla's sick and awesome. I love Godzilla. I'm a huge Godzilla head.
Legia Chris.
Bioelectricity is cool. Particularly, I think it ekes into realism because it can only use its bioelectricity underwater.
Yeah.
Goes all the way to good creature design. Its peak.
Oh, we're going through a list of Monster Hunter monsters and ranking them on being realistic and well-designed. While we're also going through questions on the stream.
Lao Shen Lung is unrealistic purely because it's huge.
Gravios is the same issue as Basarios.
Yeah. Where did I put Basarios?
Down there in the bottom left.
Oh, yeah. No. It's worse because it's just slightly bigger.
Yeah.
The dinosaurs that live in Antarctica have more feathers so that they could be warm. That's likely. Generally, it got colder in the Arctic Circle than Antarctica in the Mesozoic because that stuff wasn't as far south. Do you think dinosaurs were gay? Yes. Living dinosaurs are gay. What is your favorite fossil specimen? Mine is Jane. Mine is Fran, the Acrocanthosaurus. What do you think about the show Dinosaur Evolution? Look at my page. There's a video of me watching Dinosaur Revolution or having it come on when I was at a party, and then I stand up and start pointing at the TV, yelling, "Look, that's Acrocanthosaurus. That's my favorite dinosaur. That's my favorite dinosaur." Because it is. If we dug out all of Antarctica, could we still find a well-preserved dinosaur with the skin intact? No, because Antarctica wasn't completely frozen over, as far as I'm aware. Polar ice caps didn't happen until post-Mesozoic time, when you started getting like glacial and interglacial periods. Would the Quetzalcoatlus be carnivorous or a scavenger? I imagine they were very opportunistic, so it would probably eat anything that has once moved. Do you think Pachyrhinosaurus had a filament coverage? I like depictions of it with long filaments. I certainly don't think it's that unreasonable. I don't know how far I would go in terms of covering it in filament. Yeah. It's very speculative, but I think there is a good basis because we know that ornithischian dinosaurs like Pachyrhinosaurus could have been covered in filament. But There's no direct evidence either way. I mean, it is valid speculation given that it lived in relatively cold climates. Yeah, velociraptors are very bird-like in life. Should I join this co-host from file close? I don't know if I want to do that. So are dinosaur bones fake? No. A lot of the dinosaur bones in museums are plaster casts of specimens or resin casts of specimens that exist in other places. But there are also real displayed dinosaur bones at basically every museum. They're not that rare. And it's not like dinosaur bones are only found by paleontologists either. You can volunteer at a dig site and they'll happily take you to bring a dinosaur bone out of the ground. It was the hardest name you have to say. Not a dinosaur, but probably Parapropaleohoplophorus. Micropachycephalosaurus is a good one also.
What was it?
Parapropaleohoplophorus.
I can't. I
also,
need to read that.
Also Qingdaosaurus, Chandrasaurus. Learning how to pronounce words in like anglicized Chinese is good if you want to get into paleontology. Bones, that's not really how fossils work. I mean, they were bones. They're now permineralized, but they're still bones. We call them fossil bones. The duck-billed dinosaur made a quack sound or a screech. A lot of the duck-billed dinosaurs actually have resonating chambers in their head that kind of make them sound like foghorns. How do we know that Nanosaurus wasn't an Albertosaurian, what places them closer to T-Rex proper? I'm not super updated on Nanosaurus taxonomy, but I think it's the depth of the skull. Then again, I'm not sure if the skull of Nanosaurus is super well known. I would have to look at the description paper. If we ever get to bringing back dinosaurs, could the plot of Jurassic World actually happen? Only if you're incredibly unethical as a zookeeper. What do you think about storm chasers? I think they're crazy, but I think crazy people are how we learn a lot of things. If you're in chat, don't go running after a hurricane, please.
Leshen isn't even a monster hunter monster.
I would move it off the tier list if I could, but I won't put it there. I don't like it. I don't like Leshen.
That was ancient Leshen, but
I don't care. I do not
Moss Wine.
No. The Lunastra.
Lunastra's a fantasy creature.
Fantasy creature mid-design. It's kind of like a bad griffin. Magdamalo. Fantasy beast. I do not like the way Magdamalo looks.
Magdamalo is kind of ridiculous.
Wouldn't most dinosaurs sound like an alligator or crocodile rumbles? Some of them, but some of them also had very bird-like vocalizations. We know that because the fossilized voice box of Pinacosaurus is very bird-like in its structure. If you study dinosaurs, do a roar. Fine, I'll do it again.
People in chat are really going, yeah, they're right.
Do the roar. Which dinosaur had the biggest testicle? That guy just followed me, I think.
Nice.
Which dinosaur had the biggest testicles? We don't know. We know Psittacosaurus had a really huge cloaca. Was the biggest flying dinosaur? The largest flying true dinosaur ever, I think, was Pelagornis by wingspan and Argentavis by weight. The largest flying reptile ever is Quetzalcoatlus lawsoni. Did they love each other? Depends on what you mean by love.
Let's see.
What else do we have here? That's just an owl.
Wait, what was it? Oh, yeah.
It's a fantasy owl, but it's basically just an
it's
owl.
A colorful owl.
How do you feel about the aloe buff? Was there a Hawktuosaur? There will be if I have anything to say about it.
No!
Hawktuosaurus, what's her name? What's the name of the Hawktua girl?
I don't remember.
Mizutsune.
Mizutsune is fantasy.
Where to go? Oh. I think it's a pretty good design.
Yeah, I like Mizutsune.
What's your favorite dinosaur? Acrocanthosaurus, because it's got loads and loads of footprints, and that's really cool. Quetzalcoatlus actually named after Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. Yes, it is. Q. Lawsoni is the smaller. Yes, I'm thinking of Northropi. Thank you. I get them mixed up in my mind. Yeah, that's my fun fact about Quetzalcoatlus, is that Quetzalcoatlus Northropi is named after Northrop Grumman, which is the company that designed and built the B-2 stealth bomber.
Okay, it is. I thought so.
Yeah, most deadly dinosaur. The dinosaur that died the most was probably Psittacosaurus.
Yeah.
Where can I buy a dinosaur under $100? Probably a pet store. You'd get a bird. What do you call a dinosaur with 500 teeth? A lot of the different Edmontosaurs had around that many teeth. They had these big dental batteries. There are also some Rebecchusaurid sauropods that had a bunch of like many little tiny teeth crammed in the front of their mouths. So that's not really a specific one.
What is the smallest dinosaur, like fossil, well, not fossil, but like dinosaur species that we have found in fossils?
I think the smallest fossil dinosaur is one of the compsognathids. Can you give me a Brontosaurus fun fact? Brontosaurus was the catalyst for some research into what is called brontoslamming, is the technical term for it, which is the tendency of sauropod dinosaurs to apparently bash their necks into each other, which we can look at by judging the pathologies on the cervical vertebrae. Komodo dragons are reptiles, but that's about as close they are to dinosaurs. They're squamates, which means they're way, way outside of Archosauria. They're not super closely related to dinosaurs at all. Crocodiles are much closer, and birds are dinosaurs. So, Najarala is...
Najarala is, I mean, basically just a big snake, right?
No.
No?
It has sound attacks. That's its gimmick.
Okay. That's cool.
I love the Spinosaurus. How deadly was it? I mean, it was a fairly successful predator, but it wasn't really, eating other dinosaurs like you get depicted in the movies. I think Nargacuga is fairly realistic because it makes sense that an animal would be selected for if it could do all the stuff that Nargacuga could do.
Yeah.
It doesn't really do anything super bizarre, so it's going to teeter on the edge here.
Yeah, I mean, it has like spines that it throws.
Yeah, but there's animals that do that. Birds are not dinosaurs. Want to know why? Sure. Why, wildcraft lover? Can you give me facts about the Allosaurus, my favorite dinosaur? My fact about the Allosaurus is that the Allosaurus fossils that we know of have a really high amount of sodium in them that's not consistent with like salt intake, like raw sodium exposure. So there are some Allosaurus fossils that were probably exposed to sodium veins in the Morrison Formation. Chickens can create chicken nuggets, and the dinosaurs cannot. Dinosaurs could definitely make chicken nuggets. And Kylosaurus is cool.
Chicken nugget. Chickens can create chicken nuggets.
How often do you think Carnotaurus horns... Yeah, I do think Carnotaurus horns are larger than just the bone. Is D-Rex real? No. Can I get some fun facts about Utahraptor and Eutyrannus? My fact about Utahraptor is that the teeth in the lower jaw are angled forward a little bit like Mexicosaurus, which would have assisted in prey capture. And my fun fact about Eutyrannus is that we know a lot about how it grew and changed because the Eutyrannus holotype is made up of two individuals of different ages. Sad dinosaurs never got to use air fryers. That is sad. It makes me cry every day. Nergigante.
Okay, someone asked if people ever misrepresented dinosaurs as dragons, and I told them that people have been coming into this chat and doing that, and they replied to me and said, I meant in history, and then right after that, someone said, dinosaurs never existed, only dragons.
That's awesome. That is, yeah.
Perfect example.
People have been doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
When are we going to admit that we have no idea what T-Rex look like? You picked a very poor taxon to talk about that with, because in regards to basically everything except, facial tissue composition and general integument, up until the layer of, the actual epidermis and the skin of, potential for scales or downy feathers or anything like that, we have a pretty solid idea and understanding of what T-Rex looked like, not only as an adult, but through the various stages of its life. We know where its muscles detached. We know how large its muscles were based on the size and arrangement of those attachment points. What's an archosaur? It means ruling reptile. It refers to the group of animals that includes dinosaurs, crocodiles, and all their friends. Yeah.
Someone was asking about interesting dinosaur facts they can tell their nephew.
You can tell your nephew that we actually know what color certain dinosaurs were because their feathers and skin have fossilized with such exquisite detail through a process called permineralization that we can look at under a scanning electron microscope the shape and size of the pigment-producing organelles in the cells of the skin and feathers to understand what color they would have been in life. Did dinosaurs get to watch The Notebook? Unfortunately, no. What's your favorite misrepresentation of a dinosaur? I think the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus looks really cool, but it doesn't look anything like the real animal. Welcome up, Andrew Leah.
Yo, Justin here to talk to the people who are like saying stuff about dragons and dinosaurs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They got to define what they mean by dragon because like it's kind of a broad term that could also include dinosaurs in their
Yes.
mind.
Yes, very much. That's very much true. Dragon is not a valid taxonomic term. It really does not mean anything specific in the way that dinosaur does, because dinosaur, describes a discrete set of criteria that we apply to all organisms within Dinosauria, and that's what defines them. But there's no analog for that with dragons. It's vibes based.
Yeah, and if you're going off of flying reptile, birds are taxonomically reptiles.
Yeah, so that means birds are dragons.
Pterosaurs would count as dragons.
Yeah.
Like, they got to figure out what they mean by dragon, and if they start spouting out unrealistic stuff we have no proof for, they kind of lose the argument.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that. You have a good stream, man.
Yeah, you too. Have a great day. All right, we're probably going to let one more guest up. What type of dinosaur is Fran? Should I become a paleontologist? Fran is an Acrocanthosaurus, and yes, you should if you really feel passionate about this. Do they wear top hats and tuxedos? No. I think Psittacosaurus is underappreciated, but I also don't like it. So it's overappreciated. It's underappreciated by me. And it's also underappreciated by everyone else. My daughter wants to know what makes a pterodactyl and pteranodon different. So pterodactyl is a colloquial term, not a scientific one, that refers to all pterosaurs. And it's generally better to say pterosaur. Pteranodon is a specific species of pterosaur that denotes an animal with a, kind of upwards curving toothless beak. It lived in the Midwest about 66 million years ago. Is How to Train Your Dragon historically accurate? No. Roman says, I play Ark. I know more than you.
Arc is not particularly accurate.
I'll Venmo you $10 if you can tell me what an antorbital fenestra is. That's a joke. That's a joke. Yu-Gi-Oh! Dinosaurs? I used to be really into Yu-Gi-Oh!, but not anymore. Do you draw paleo art? Yes, I do. I drew Fran, who is behind me. What's your favorite pterosaur?
Dasungaripterus.
I love Dasungaripterus.
It's a good name.
Dasungaripterus. Why do so many dinosaurs have crests on their heads? It's a really good question. The head is one of the most intensely modified and adapted areas of the body when it comes to evolution and selective pressure. It just seems to be subject to the most change. It's
true. It has the most sensory organs in it.
Yeah.
It's generally just really, really important.
Yeah. So the fact that they have crests on their head is probably just because the head is one of the areas that undergoes the most genetic change. Did dinosaurs watch dinosaur edits? I show dinosaur edits to my friends' birds sometimes, so kind of. Could dinosaurs do the gritty? Yeah, as long as they didn't face their wrists downward toward the ground. My favorite dinosaur book is All Yesterdays. I saw an example of hipposkeleton by scientists fail. We don't know anything really. That's incorrect. You're referring to the mock reconstructed hipposkeleton, either from All Yesterdays or a derivative of it. It was done by C.M. Kozman. It was an art project, not an actual thing. He was using outdated paleontological techniques when he made that, and he knew he was, because his point is that the modern techniques of reconstruction are superior. If you gave a scientist an actual hippo skull, they would return it as a hippo skull, even if there were no living hippos and we had to go off of Andrewsarchus or something similar, because it has osteological correlates for facial tissue. We wouldn't reconstruct a hippopotamus with no lips covering its teeth.
There was someone asking about doing paleoentomology and whether there is a lot of research to be had in it.
Absolutely. It's one of the less competitive areas of paleontology with one of the best data sets. Invertebrates, fossils, are way more common than vert fossils. So if you want to go into looking at bugs, particularly aquatic bugs, get in there. Yes, Brady Billings. It is very likely that was a whale phallus. Which dinosaur would like root beer the most? The cool ones. Prehistoric invertebrates need way more love. Absolutely. What dinosaur would Godzilla be if he existed? Some kind of large thyreophore, which is Stegosaurus ankylosaurus. He has those big osteoderms on his back. Yeah, dinosaurs used to be in the Arctic Circle. Did dinosaurs ever have a concept of repetition? I'm sure they had an understanding of pattern recognition, because that's how a lot of animals plan out territory. We know that dinosaurs had fairly complicated behaviors associated with mating. So they had tradition in some aspects. I mean, in the way that birds do. Have you played Ark Survival Evolved? Meh. Fran did not French kiss, but Acrocanthosaurus did bite other Acrocanthosaurus on the face, like a lot of theropods did. Tribute to Anomalocaris. I got to see an Anomalocaris the other day. I texted my friend about it, and she was listening to Evanescence at the same time that I did that.
Oh, well, also, this was, like, right... I also got just recommended that video randomly out of nowhere, and texted them about it, and they sent me the picture of the Anomalocaris that they had just seen.
Yeah. So face biting is a trend that we observe among a lot of the theropod dinosaurs, where they have injuries on their face very consistent with intraspecies violence, and they're rarely lethal. They accrue them over life, and then they become healed. And what that indicates is there's like a level of, intraspecific violence, the same way that elephant seals do it between these animals. Have you ever drawn a Stegosaurus? No, but I have drawn at this point, very outdated Dacenturus. I should update. The Dacenturus has a neck that's way too short, because that was before we found out that Dacenturus has 17 neck vertebrae. Have there been any real dinosaur discoveries this year? Yes. There was recently an updated paleobiology paper on Australia that described the presence of a ton of new different species that have not yet been named, but they are present in Australia. It was some Carcharodontosaur material, some Abelisaurs. Basically, saying that the diversity of Australian carnivorous dinosaurs is way higher than was previously estimated. Megaraptor is really awesome. My cool fact about Megaraptor is that the term raptor, in referring to the Megaraptorans, was initially coined because we thought that their hand claws were foot claws, and it was like, oh, this is just a very big dromaeosaur, but they're actually manual claws. They're on the hand unguals. And then it was like, okay, well, these are just like kind of giganotosaurs with similar giganotosaur proportions and just big hands. Well, that's also not true. They have these super bizarre narrow heads, which is really awesome. Do you believe some animals that live today are dinosaurs? Birds. Quetzalcoatlus is not a dinosaur, but it is a really cool animal. What if it's not intended violence, but more or less similar to how sharks mate? That's definitely a possibility. I would consider that intended, though, because those sharks are biting each other. The Spinosaurus design in Rebirth is pretty accurate to what we think about Spinosaurus right now from the neck down, but the neck and head are kind of bad. I heard you say that dinosaurs had homosexual relationships, and was that true? I'm curious. Absolutely. There are living dinosaurs that do that. Tube noses like albatrosses and their ilk. They pair bond all the time, with members of the same sex. Japanese quails are very notoriously homosexual birds.
I was going to say penguins are very, very notoriously homosexual birds.
Yeah, there's a lot of different examples of...
Yeah.
Alligators and crocodiles are not dinosaurs. They're archosaurs. Quetzalcoatlus is not a dinosaur for the same reason that crocodiles aren't dinosaurs. They don't have a perforate acetabulum and dinosaur wrists. Crocodiles have a couple other traits that remove them from being dinosaurs, but if dinosaurs were alive for way longer than us, how can they never evolve intelligence-wise? Intelligence isn't universally useful. It was a trait that was useful for early humans, and it just wasn't selected for. Intelligence is super, like a big, well-developed brain consumes a lot of nutrients, and it causes you to require to consume a lot more calories compared to your body size than an animal with a smaller brain. So it's all about selective pressure. Aren't we closer to Stegosaurus than T-Rex? In time, yeah. What are your academic credentials? I don't have any academic credentials. I don't have a degree. I'm still in school. But I do work in a museum. I study dinosaurs, particularly Anseriformes. I'm going to be going. I've been on several field digs in the past, and I'm going to be going on another one this summer. I learn a lot about dinosaurs because that's my passion. I'm pursuing a degree in paleontology, but I don't claim to be a paleontologist. Just a researcher who's focused on dinosaurs, and so that's what I do. What was the smartest dinosaur? We observed the highest encephalization quotients, which is how we measure intelligence in extinct animals, in both living birds and troodontids. What do you think about dragons and dinosaurs, or just a cover-up? If you can tell me what a dragon is, then I'd be willing to talk about that. But dragon is not really a defined taxonomic term. Please say dinosaurs go roar. Not really. It's more of like
alligator bellows.
Alligator bellows are reasonable. Bird chirps. Deep bird chirps. They had pretty bird-like vocalization systems, or I guess respiratory systems. What dinosaur had the most drip? Dryptosaurus, which is a real animal. Top 5 species you'd like to see in a prehistoric aquarium. Phosphorosaurus, Tylosaurus proroger, Coronosaurus, Dunkleosteus, and Stethocanthus. Ooh, actually, I'm gonna drop Phosphorosaurus in favor of Hyneria, I think. Is it possible for scientists to artificially recreate dinosaurs? If you mean cloning birds, yes. If you mean beyond that, no, not really. DNA degrades very quickly. LeBron could have stopped the meteor. We'll never know.
He could have dunked it
right
into the sun.
The most accurate depiction of Spinosaurus would be a prehistoric kingdom Spinosaurus with its tail sticking straight out behind its body instead of dragging, which it does most of the time, but sometimes it drags its tail, which... They did find a Carcharodontosaur in Australia, but it hasn't been named yet. It's no coincidence that LeBron exists and the dinosaurs are extinct. Sure. What are your thoughts on the new asteroids discovery? Interesting and fun. I'm not worried, per se. Are chickens technically dinosaurs? More than technically, they just are dinosaurs. All birds are. Brian Davenport, what do you mean by dragon? A dinosaur is being brought back since Colossal is de-extincting the dodo bird. I did hear about that. Helicoprion, Dunkleosteus, Antopodontatus, and Nothosaurus, and Ophthalmosaurus. Nothosaurus is super cool. Helicoprion might have to replace Stethocanthus. Do you research early life like fish, plants, early mammals? No, my research right now is focused on post-Cretaceous mass extinction evolution of Galloanceres.
Though you've worked with people who've done research on more of that stuff, right?
Yeah, I have. I have a cursorial knowledge of early life knowledge. I mean, I'm hopefully going to get into that sort of field soon-ish. I know that the museum that I work at is running a project soon, and they're going to. I keep forgetting the name of this specific animal. It's not Hybotus. It's shoot, not Hybotus. What is the name of that one really like crocodilian-looking carboniferous fish?
I don't know.
Carboniferous predatory fish. It's going to come up here. Rhizotus. That's what it is. And there is a process that might occur, or a project that might occur, where we're going to try and describe a new species of Rhizotus. Cool. And I might work on that. What is the common ancestor of every dinosaur not too far back? Just land animal common ancestor. The last common ancestor of all dinosaurs probably looked something like Eoraptor, and it was probably feathered. LeBron would solo any dinosaur. If they were playing basketball, probably. Which dinosaur would make the hardest Elden Ring boss? Are there any birds in Elden Ring?
I think there are.
They're the death birds.
Yeah.
I mean, the death birds are the dinosaurs that are the hardest.
But like actual dinosaurs that existed, which one do you think would make the hardest Elden Ring boss?
I think Ankylosaurus, because its entire body would give you the weapon bounce sound effect.
Oh god.
You know, like when you hit a wall in Elden Ring.
Oh, I was just thinking everything's a hard hit zone.
Quetzalcoatlus is not a dinosaur. Which dinosaur are they trying to bring back? The dodo bird is the only one, I believe. Do you know what a Nanoxaurus is? Yes, I do. There's one mounted in my museum right now. How can you study what isn't real? If you'd like to come up and explain why dinosaurs are not real, I'd be more than happy to have that chat with you. But, you know, if you're just going to sit there and say that, then go ahead. Yeah, feathers are ancestral to Archosauria. That is very true. Which raptors would see us as prey? Probably Utah raptor, maybe a Kilobator. I do know Ark. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I mean, go play it. It's fun if it's fun for you. I don't hate it because it has bad dinosaur designs. Not saying it does. I mean, it kind of does, but I just don't like that kind of survival game. Do you know what an Anaxaurus is? Cool dino. Yeah, an Anaxaurus is awesome. It's a really, really cool animal. Which dinosaurs were still alive today and were in zoos? If dinosaurs be the most visited. Okay.
Whichever ones were the best publicized.
Yeah. I have to say, I think it would be T-Rex. Because that's the biggest land carnivore. Everyone loves lions and tigers.
Everyone likes the big things.
It's whichever one has this like combination of being a huge carnivore and also being interestingly colored.
Yeah.
That shows up good in photos. Do you think Rawi-Sukids were warm-blooded? I think they were probably like facultative endotherms. I don't know if they would be warm-blooded the entire year round, but I think at least very similar to what crocodiles are. They could at least somewhat regulate their temperature. What is the evolutionary benefits of short arms? The evolutionary benefit of short arms is not having to intake the calories into your body to survive needed to maintain the musculature for long arms. The weirdest looking dinosaur is probably something like Mashikasaurus or Qingdaosaurus. I have seen Dead Sounds Dinosauria. Are you assigned what research or do you choose what research? A little bit of both. I was assigned to a project regarding something in Anseriformes, and I proposed the research question. What if we look at Anseriform diversity, particularly evolution of the Carpometacarpus, and how it diversified after the end Cretaceous extinction? Brian Davenport says they had huge arms to hold the wings. I have watched maybe every video there is to watch about the whole T-Rex arms or wings hypothesis, and none of them are scientifically backed. They just point to the skeleton with no regard for homology or anything like that. There's no literature to back it up. We know T-Rex didn't have a sternal keel. We have all of its gastralia. We know T-Rex didn't have particularly hollow bones in its arms, not only because hollow bones still fossilize, even though a lot of people claim they don't, but the bones in the rest of T-Rex's body were hollower than you would consider non-hollow, but not hollow enough to support flight. We also know that T-Rex did not have hips associated with flying. Its head was far too front-heavy to sustain that sort of lift. It has a huge tail. You know, there's really no backing for the idea that T-Rex was a giant flying animal.
Be cool though.
It would be cool, but it's just very untrue. Does T-Rex does Therizino have a feathered tail, or is that unrealistic? Therizinosaurus might have been feathered. It's not really big here nor there.
Really like the illustration, and I think it's all yesterday's.
Yeah,
where it's just a big feathery mop.
I think that's Nothronitis, not Therizinosaurus. But yes.
Really? Oh, okay.
Welcome up, one and only Chris W.
Hi. So I have a question I've asked a few other like paleontologists, like people who know a lot about dinosaurs, and they never seem to have like an answer.
Yeah. Sure, go ahead.
Did dinosaurs ever hunt in packs? Like if they coordinated to like kill their prey?
Yeah, well, it's important to distinguish here between pack hunting and what's called like predator mobbing. So like if you throw a food item or a large living food animal in front of a bunch of Komodo dragons, they'll all go for it and they'll kind of seem to coordinate. But the thing that we would be looking for is evidence of like a distinct pack lifestyle. So in Deinonychus, for example, which is one of the dinosaurs where pack hunting is a proposed idea, we only find adult Deinonychus at fossils surrounding food or kill sites, which indicates that those animals are probably solitary animals that are congregating around food. But if you look at something like, I believe it's either Albertosaurus or Gorgosaurus, that is known to have fossilized. It's a predator, but it fossilized in a fossil bed with multiple generations of younger Gorgosaurs or Albertosaurus with it. So we know that, for example, in those Tyrannosaurs, which are Gorgosaurus and Albertosaurus, are Tyrannosaurs. It would be more likely that they coordinate in regards to eating food because they're traveling together as a family, which is what most packs are. They're family units.
Yeah.
So there's definitely, not all dinosaurs were solitary. There's definitely some dinosaurs that gathered together, and I imagine that if there were predators that were gathering together, they would probably assist in hunting.
Yeah. All right, that was my only question. Because a lot of people would never answer that, and I always get like so confused. Oh, bye. Have a nice day.
Yeah, you too. Have a good day.
Thanks.
All right, that was our last guest. Unless, we have Fabian up. I'm not gonna let anyone sit there if we have someone.
Which dinosaur has the biggest dick in the world?
All right, and that's that.
Okay, that was an excellent last question. Dinosaurs don't have phalluses. They have cloacas, which can sometimes superficially resemble a phallus, but they're not the same thing. So the answer is none of them. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say ducks if you're going based on body to size ratio. We call it the same word, but it's only a colloquial thing. What makes something a dinosaur? 5 holes on either side of the skull, enlarged zygoapophyses on the cervical vertebrae, a synsacrum above the hips, a perforate acetabulum, a enlarged and asymmetric fourth trochanter, and avametatarsalien ankles. So there's that. Thank you everybody for coming by. This was a great stream. It was a good midday activity. I'm gonna go back to writing a paper now and have a good time, everybody.
Make sure to check out.
Yes. Oh yeah. Check my YouTube channel. Whoa.
You gotta plug yourself.
Yeah. Check my YouTube channel. These streams get uploaded on YouTube. You can watch the recordings. There's already some cool stuff on there. Yeah. You can comment on my videos, and I'll try and record new stuff to answer your questions. You can also DM me questions, and I'll try and record videos answering them. Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone's viewership. Have a great day. Bye bye.